In post-World War I Germany, the law had been a most respected entity, with the country regaining some stability, in part due to capable lawyers and judges, many of them Jewish. In 1933, no law could inhibit Germany's political and military rise to power. In a step-by-step process, the National Socialist government dismantled constitutional law, usurped justice, and created a lethal totalitarian system that soon engulfed Germany and all of Europe. Redefining the nation as a pure political and biological organism, the Nazi government imposed legislation that reinforced its ideological program in all aspects of German life, with a focus on race, business, religion, and medicine.
Adolf Hitler is dead. He is dead, and how he died, the world little cares. For Hitler's death, millions have prayed, and millions are now thankful for justice. 1920, Hitler began. He was considered just a joke then, a raving crackpot.
At the dawn of the National Socialist Party in Munich in 1923, a little-known Austrian political upstart by the name of Adolf Hitler naively attempted to overthrow the Weimar government of President Friedrich Ebert. Historically, the Bavarian beer hall served as a locale of camaraderie and occasional ideological meetings.
The beer hall putsch took place in November of 1923. The Weimar Republic, which started out in 1920, was in crisis. Certainly, the Weimar Republic had all kinds of obstacles to try to overcome. Its leaders were seen as responsible for Germany's surrender in World War I, which no one in Germany expected. They were also seen as responsible for the Versailles Treaty, which all Germans felt was incredibly unfair, even though both the surrender and the need to sign that treaty were really dictated by the generals, who felt that Germany could not sustain further military action.
On November 8th, with 600 stormtroopers led by Ernst Röhm, Hitler descended upon the Bürgerbräu-Keller and shouted out, "The national revolution has broken out. The hall is surrounded." After several speeches by putsch leaders, Hitler left, wrongly believing the revolution had begun.
If you love history, then you will love History Hit, our extensive library of documents.
To organize a march on Rome, which put him in a position of power, felt that he could do the same thing. Now, in his case, he had to start from Munich in Bavaria, which is where the Nazi Party had begun and built itself up. And his plan was twofold. He was going to coerce the leaders of Munich and Bavaria into moving out of his way, and he was then going to march on Berlin.
At 11 a.m. on November 9th, Hitler and his followers attempted to take over Munich public buildings. But the armed police and army, alerted to the Nazi Party's actions, fired upon the marchers. This left 16 Nazi martyrs whose blood soaked the swastika banner of the newly formed Nazi Party.
In 1923, there was a great deal of economic turmoil in Germany, and Hitler decided to seize the occasion to try to dismantle the democratic process in Germany and essentially establish a dictatorship. The interesting part of the beer hall putsch is that the putsch itself was so poorly disorganized that he never left the city limits, so that he ended up being tried in a local court. Had he made it outside of the city limits or even on his way to Berlin, he could have been tried for treason in the national court and in fact have faced a death sentence.
Prison, where Hitler wrote his credo of hate during his imprisonment in 1924, following the unsuccessful beer hall putsch. This was a hallowed shrine to official Nazis never should have left.
Although Hitler was sentenced to
Never should have left.
Although Hitler was sentenced to 5 years in Landsberg prison, he was imprisoned less than 9 months, during which time he continued to build his party network and dictate his blueprint.
Realized that he wasn't going to be able to take power by force. He decided he had to use the political processes to attain power. And he manages to build the most successful political party in Weimar Germany and become the most successful leader. And you know, it's amazing because up until the elections of 1930, it doesn't look like he's getting anywhere. He had this idea, build it and they will come, that if he created the infrastructure for a political movement, the opportunity would come along. He recruits, he develops propaganda techniques, he learns to use technology, he recruits a successful group of lieutenants. And when the Great Depression strikes, and once again the Weimar Republic is vulnerable, it is Hitler and the Nazis that are in this position to capitalize on that and move to power. But he had always said that he was going to use the Constitution to destroy the Constitution. And he was going to use the rules of the Republic to destroy the Republic. Certainly the Reichstag fire, which occurs in February of 1933, helps him.
Here you see the Reichstag, the German House of Parliament in Berlin, which has been seriously destroyed by fire.
The Reichstagsfire was essentially the 9/11 of Germany. Adolf Hitler had been chancellor of the country for less than a month. There were crucial national elections a week away. And suddenly, this very symbol of German democratic process goes up in flames in an arson attack. The Nazis exploited this event to great effect.
Hello.
The Hitler government immediately...
You may wonder why there's no music playing right now.
And the next day, Hitler approaches the
Because we really need to listen to
and
this.
says, we need to suspend civil liberties. Hindenburg was hesitant, but ultimately signed, and that
Really important to hear
was, Germans were willing to take a major step in the dismantling of the democratic system.
I'll let it play for a bit while I'm finishing getting ready.
That existed at that point. A lot of Germans were willing to sacrifice certain liberties for the sake of national security. And once again, I think, given what the United States went through after 9/11, I think one can understand that. And I'm not saying that the dynamics or even the situation was the same, but it can, if one wants to try to imagine what it was like in Germany at that point. Germany changed with the seizure of power in January 33, dramatically, but not immediately. It was actually an extended process that the Germans called the Gleichschaltungsprozess.
By labeling the Reichstag fire as a terrorist attack by the communists, Hitler convinced President Paul von Hindenburg to suspend all civil liberties.
Hindenburg did not like Hitler. He could not even stand to be in the same room with the man, but the political constellations of things were such that he appointed Hitler as chancellor. Hitler then, along with the other Nazis, set about systematically dismantling the various pieces of democratic process. Some of it through legal means, some of it just subverting the system and ignoring certain laws.
The first major step in overthrowing the justice system occurred with the suspension of all civil liberties and the installation of protective custody, or Schutzhaft.
What happens in the enabling law is by this time, the Communist Party, as a result of the Reichstag fire, had been declared illegal. And that eliminates a powerful bloc of anti-Nazis from the Reichstag. At this point, Hitler goes to the Reichstag and asks for a 4-year dictatorial regime, which would suspend most civil liberties and virtually create a state of almost permanent emergency powers.
At the Kroll Opera House in March of 1933, Hitler proposed the law for removing the distress of Volk and Reich. To keep the folk secure, the communist ideological enemies were rounded up and imprisoned.
Hier wird ein Gesetz alles Handeln bestimmen. Das Volk lebt nicht für die Wirtschaft und die Wirtschaft existiert nicht für das Kapital, sondern das Kapital dient der Wirtschaft und die Wirtschaft dem Volk.
All right, I'll be right back.
One of the pro-communist anti-Nazi lawyers caught in the web was Hans Litting, who had defended communists against the wrath of violent Nazis. Even daring to question Hitler on the stand for 3 hours in a 1931 trial. Hitler never forgot what he viewed as humiliation at the hands of Litting, and eventually deemed the prominent attorney an enemy of the state. Sent to a concentration camp, this honorable half-Jewish attorney paid for his integrity. After 5 years of Nazi torture in a concentration camp, Litting committed suicide. In March 1933, in an effort to confine the enemies of the state, an old munitions plant on the outskirts of Munich became the first Nazi concentration camp. After targeting the communists, Hitler turned his attention toward his next enemy, the Jews.
Sorry if that was echoing for anyone.
From that time on, virulent anti-Semitism dominated the philosophy of the fast-growing party throughout the 12th.
So I'm going to pause that just for now. We all know why we're here. I think I would have liked to have arranged for my green screen to be up, because today's a good day for me to be able to walk around and kind of flail my arms around and stuff. Like I said, we all kind of know why we're here. We know why. It is exhausting. I am so tired of trying to figure out. I don't know that I'm trying to figure out how to break through anywhere, or how I'm. It's very hard for me to describe. People are confused, and I think that it's really easy to lash out at easy targets and to think like, that anyone who gets hurt in any capacity somehow has deserved to be hurt. And I don't know how that could be any further from the truth, especially when considering just the very, very basics of the things that we're encouraged to do as Americans. I think the film that I'm playing or the documentary that I'm playing right now is pretty important, because what we're seeing is sort of parallel to what happened in Germany in the 1930s. And I know that, people will they'll think that people like me are sensationalizing things up and down. They'll justify things over and over and over again, but at the end of the day, if you're on the side that is arguing for people to live, then something's wrong with the side that's arguing for people to die. I think in addition to saying how important remembering history is, it's also important to present the facts in a way that normal people can understand. And what that means is that America, if you're not very familiar with the country, is by and large undereducated, I would say, especially in the sectors where people are impoverished and where that kind of education is needed the most. And oftentimes that's what leads to snap judgments and a lot of misinterpretations as to what you're actually feeling in real time. And if you've, watched my streams with any kind of regularity, you know that a lot of what I attribute, a lot of the things that I see happening, with people who are, part of this whole thing, I guess, is fear. And I think it's important to kind of really call that out, and help people understand that it is fear that is driving them to think and say the things that they do. So that's why, this particular, come on, focus on me. All right, we're gonna end up unfocused. Hello. That's why it is just, I don't know, it's important to try to bring these issues down to sort of their base level. And what I'm hoping is that I'll at the very least have a recorded record of the sort of building blocks of everything that went into all the stuff that happened, but also, I'm hoping that, I don't know, I'm hoping that in investigating the videos and stuff like that, people are clued into sort of like the reality of what happened, and, I won't have to necessarily, I don't know, I don't think that I'm going to affect much change just by talking about it, but this, as this is sort of like my version of therapy, it's, important for me to just kind of get the thoughts out there. That's really the only reason why it's, necessary for me to do this. But I would encourage, if you're active in your community and you believe that this was a tragedy and that it should have been avoided, then I urge you to contact your congressman and actually, give them an earful of the things that you would like to see happening in the future. I'm going to go grab a fresh paper towel. My desk is just so full of trash right now. Oh, not like a teenager's car, but more like I've opened a couple of packages and neglected to throw them away. So in general, I don't think that it's entirely useful to try and go over like what we can agree on and what we can't agree on as far as how the events unfold. I think you really only need to look at the videos to know what happened, and which is why I kind of want to I don't know. I kind of want to like. Okay. Sorry. I'm walking, talking, and chewing bubblegum at the same time. Hang on a sec. What was I wanting to look for? Keep listening to this.
Of your Reich.
Post on the L socials.
Hitler's 25-point National Socialist Party stressed the importance of segregating Jews from Aryan society, and soon led to abrogating all of their legal, civil, and political rights.
Obrigado.
On April 7, 1933, Parliament established its first major law to curtail the rights of Jewish citizens, the law for the restoration of the professional civil service. According
What a
to
mouthful.
the Aryan paragraph, Jews were legally excluded from civil service positions. On the same day, a law was imposed that prevented Jews from admission to the bar.
Right, so as you can see, like one of the most foundational things that they did in order to remove power from quote unquote the people was to make laws, right? So they didn't like violently take the capital or anything. They made laws that would incorporate or would implement systems that removed power from people they didn't like. Just like, oh, I guess, an executive order that says there are only two genders, or trying to encourage state lawmakers to pass laws that say that you have to ban trans people from women's sports. Almost like they're exactly the same agenda.
This legal assault had devastating consequence for Jewish lawyers. For the most part, Aryan attorneys were pleased, and few voiced any negative reaction to such violations of justice.
Right.
The history of Jewish lawyers in Nazi Germany really follows an arc from the unification of Germany in the 1870s through the Nazi era. With the unification of Germany, Jewish lawyers for the first time were allowed to enter into the legal profession. And they flowed into the legal profession, and they became very prominent in the legal profession. When the Nazis came into power in the winter of 1933, they immediately tried to reverse the emancipation of Jews and the liberal legal order which had allowed Jews to become part of it and in which Jews had played such an important role. The Nazis round up its opponents. It arrested within several days 4,000 of its political opponents. Among them were Jewish lawyers. But at that point,
So
the Nazis were
people who would have either made
arresting
laws,
its political opponent.
so people who would have either made laws or encouraged lawmakers to make laws that would increase equity and equality. I really wish that my phone would stop notifying me of just useless stuff. It's like, oh, someone's story is gonna run out soon, or they're gonna expire soon. What the fuck do I care? And like, I'm sure these are, features that Instagram was like, you guys need these. You guys need these features.
Not Jews as Jews, not Jewish lawyers as Jewish lawyers. But within several weeks, it became clear that the Nazis were going to target Jewish lawyers as well. There were attacks on courthouses organized by SA thugs who would enter into the courthouses, who would throw out Jewish lawyers, would throw out Jewish judges. Violence served a purpose for the Nazis. They used it to its full extent. They used it quickly, and they scared people. But the Nazis also realized that violence had its limits, and that they could also use law in order to promote their agenda.
Right.
Hitler claimed that Nuremberg was the most German of cities, with a tradition that aligned itself with the nationalism of the 1930s.
Almost like how the modern day Nazis used the first Trump administration
burned Jews at the stake
to try and implement, whatever they could. I mean, they were mostly looking to enrich themselves, right? I think Trump was himself quoted as saying that he didn't even think he was going to win the first election. And, then people in positions of power started to see that, oh, shit, maybe this guy actually can win elections. Maybe he can end up getting into the presidency. He's really bad for democracy. Peter Thiel liked that. Everybody liked that. And so, here we go. And in between, they spent that first 4 years sort of laying the groundwork. What was it, 2013 was when the alt-right movement started to get, real big? When they started, I remember on YouTube, they were just, piling on these videos where it's own the libs owned, And I really saw people starting to kind of question the current zeitgeist, especially, impressionable younger people. We're starting to say, what? Oh, yeah, I call my friends gay all the time, so it must, it's an insult then, so being gay must be wrong. Right? It's not like there's been institutional fucking brainwashing for the last 100 goddamn years. Yeah. Fuck, I think it's, I don't know. I think it's really important to, kind of realize, I think the initial stuff about, why people get into trouble, why people are getting shot extrajudicially. A lot of that is because people misunderstand the idea of protest. They misunderstand, and a lot of it's propaganda. I can acknowledge that. But they misunderstand what these basic concepts are. And it is, a bit of our sort of poor education system at work there. People from other countries kind of have it right when they're saying, oh, there's the American education system at work. If people really just had the basic political knowledge, they would know that protesting is, a cornerstone of our democracy. Protesting is supposed to be something that people do all the time. And if we were to imagine us in a vacuum as a perfect society, a utopia where barely anyone had to worry about barely anything, people would be protesting about stupid shit. Imagine if you're getting all your phone chips from Taiwan and the American people are upset. They want their phone chips to come from Australia. I don't know. I'm throwing names out there. And that's what they would be protesting about. And there'd be just as many people angry about them protesting about where they're getting their phone microchips as there are today about, people protesting about people being kidnapped off the street. It just so happens that society hasn't reached that level. So here we are. Protesting, again, is a cornerstone of American democracy. We did not, yesterday just tried to say that we somehow are a country that formed off of compliance to the police? I'm sorry. What the fuck? I have to, today... Sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Goose. And today is switched with tomorrow. But, maybe that'll be permanent. I don't know. Mondays are supposed to be... Ah! Or Ask an Atheist Anything. And Tuesdays are supposed to be... What's wrong with you? But we've switched them because we need to talk about Nazis. We need to talk about how Nazis rise to power. And we need to talk about how the events that are happening in Minnesota are pretty gosh darn reminiscent of, some really aggressive tactics that Hitler and his cronies liked to, foist onto the American people, or inflict on the American people. And so it's really important that we notice those parallels.
Berg continued to fuel animosity during the Third Reich. The city hosted the party rallies and also served as the venue for the promulgation of the Nuremberg Laws. Hitler used the 1935 National Socialist Party Congress in Nuremberg to launch these infamous race laws. For Hitler, blood purity ensured the vitality of the 1,000-year Aryan Reich as defined in the Nuremberg Laws of September 15, 1935.
Erde die Menschen nähren und aus der Fruchtbarkeit seiner Familien die Nation forterhält.
Hitler used the 1935 National Socialist Party Congress in Nuremberg to launch these infamous race laws. In this way, the government revoked Reich citizens.
And yet it's so weird, you know, if you listen to him, he's talking about flourishing, he's talking about, you know, wanting to improve the country, make it great, you know, it's weird, it's weird. You know, one could say that it sounds like he seems like a person who has Germany's best interests at heart, right? You know, he's talking about thriving, about the family, about all that kind of stuff, right? Oh, super weird. Super weird how people just kind of lie like that.
Citizenship for Jews. And prohibited Jews from marrying or having sexual relations with individuals of German or related blood.
How do you enforce that? If you have a child who's half Jewish, then you're like, well, we know you guys
These
fucked.
Nuremberg laws, they were the ones that really prescribed citizenship for Jews. Citizenship was something that would be granted, like a license. Only citizens had rights of citizenship. The second law was about keeping the...
And now here's a really good sort of, I mean, this is a bit of a throwaway line that he was saying, but he said that Jews could obtain citizenship. Like, you know, maybe through a process that isn't very well organized or maintained. Maybe it's almost impossible for anyone who is experiencing poverty to make it work. I don't know. It seems weird that only some people get to be citizens of the country that they live in. Just saying, you know, I mean, maybe there are some parallels. If we look really, really, really closely, maybe there will be some parallels to like sort of what the immigration stuff is doing, you know? Maybe there'd be some parallels to what people are saying about brown people. You know, weird. So strange how they match up so closely. And yet people tell me Trump isn't Hitler, Trump's not trying to be Hitler. It's so strange. You know, it's so strange.
Purity of race. And it begins by prohibiting any kind of marriage between an Aryan and a Jew. It spells it out. If there is already a marriage, it's invalid. There were prescriptions. No kind of...
Almost like attacking gay marriage. Huh.
Of sexual relations. That was going to take a little bit of policing.
Yeah.
And there was a provision that no non-German, Jewish or other, female servant could be kept in the house of Aryans under 45. That was going to go into effect a little bit later. The bulk of the law went right into effect the
That's
next
so strange.
day.
I've never heard of that before. Oh, see, look. So he's, you know, again, anyone that looks at this as like from an outside point of view, or even at the time, if you like supported all the things that, you know, Hitler was saying, then you were supporting broken system, or you were trying to support the fixing of a broken system, right? The law is an attempt to legally regulate a problem, which in the case of repeated failure must then be transferred by law to the definitive solution of the National Socialist Party. So do you guys understand how he's trying to present something as a failing of the current government, right? And that he and his party intend to fix. Almost like drain the swamp, or, you know, all the rhetoric against any of the liberal leadership who were trying to run for president at the time, or against Biden when he was president. It's almost like, you know, it's almost like there's a direct parallel between saying, oh, hey, the current government isn't doing its job, and we need a charismatic guy to get into the office and try to, you know, do it for him or for them. Right? It's almost like it's exactly the same thing. Weird.
Gesetz zur endgültigen Lösung der nationalsozialistischen Partei übertragen werden müsste. Hinter allen drei
The party stands behind all three laws, and with it and behind it stands the German nation.
steht die Partei
Right, so he presents his platform as law-abiding, as justice-seeking, as for the people, for the German workers, because the, you know, Socialist Party, obviously, Just like Trump tries to appeal to farmers, factory workers, while also gutting their entire industries right under their noses. Really, really, really obvious. Really, really obvious.
With these laws, there was so much exclusion. Jews were really being excluded from public life.
Right. Almost like, South American immigrants, almost like Middle Eastern immigrants. Pretty much anyone that's on ICE's target list is being demonized. And there are people on YouTube who specifically continue. I mean, it's every platform. There are people on YouTube, on Reddit, on everywhere that specifically say, did we get history wrong? Lots of Republicans are getting it wrong right now. People are saying things like, they don't deserve. They're all rapists and pedophiles, and they're all people who are criminals and shit. What's up, Godspeed? How's it going? And I feel like, demonizing an entire group of people is really just kind of reminiscent of, it's almost like it's almost like we almost did not see this coming. I feel like, I don't know, I'm maybe I'm jumping to conclusions here, but I don't know, let's continue.
They had no rights.
I'm gonna shut off the face cam for now.
It didn't matter whether
Smoke
you
them
were
if you got them.
religious Jew or not.
Big
To Hitler,
cheers,
if
all
you
that
had
kind of stuff.
a quarter to an eighth of your background Jewish, you were Jewish. So it wasn't a religious thing. It was a racial, ethnic. And so if you had a Jew, even if you converted, you were still Jewish according to the racial laws. Based
weird.
on your background.
So it almost had nothing to actually do with race.
And so it was a eugenic
So strange.
and genetic and hereditary. And it was all caught up in social Darwinism, but it was a genetic, and that was a different kind of anti-Semitism.
Yeah, totally. It's the transgender Democrats that are the ones who are making laws to say that certain people can't exist. Sure.
Through legal machinations, the Jewish community was also forced out of the medical profession and denied civil rights.
Basically, starting out in 1933, it was made extraordinarily difficult, almost impossible, for Jews to practice either profession of law or the profession of medicine. They were essentially outlawed.
Oh, wait a second. Wait, you're saying that they were, kicked out of women's sports? Or wait, no, sorry, that was trans people. Wait, are you saying that they are being completely demonized? Oh, wait, no, that's South Americans, Mexicans. You're completely wrong. The Democrats are the gay confused one. I don't know why you think that gay or trans is an insult. Neither of those words are insulting to anybody who are those things. That's just kind of weird that you would think that. Be right back. I'm going to grab a paper towel.
From those two professions, and they were a major portion of those professions.
They are literally demons? So you're saying that you believe in demons? And you think that hundreds of millions of people are all demons? Billions? You think they're all demons? Every single one of them? Even the people who are just living their lives, hanging out with their families, just being normal fucking people. You know that you don't have a gaydar, right? You can't just tell who's gay. So you know that there's probably many different people in your life that are gay, and you just don't even know it. Same thing with trans, If you transition young enough, then you don't even appear to be it, Weird. Yes, absolutely. Okay. You know how weird that is, right? That you believe in magic and fictional beings. Do you Do you honestly not see how weird that is? You don't think that's a little weird? Like a little strange? We know it. Who's we? You know that every single Christian has a different idea of what Christ would have taught, right? Every single one. And they all think that they're more Christian than you are. So it's exciting that you think that you're somehow unique or different. I would love for you to, I don't know, back it up. Well, Skippy, keep paying attention because, you know, if you like these people, then, you know, you totally approve of everything that's happening right now, so.
At the time. So, you know, some people argue that this was an economic...
I mean, no, like, almost no Christian would say that magic is the same as what God does. They try very hard to separate God and magic. So, I don't know, speak up, Christians, if you agree or disagree, but I believe that is what the going hypothesis is that most Christians would not claim that what God does is magic.
Move that the doctors and lawyers were happy to get rid of the Jewish doctors and lawyers, and that was part of it.
Well, Skippy, then I hope that you don't claim to have any loved ones, because if you do, then you're making them real sad right now. Jesus was a magician, yes. You know that magicians are all scam artists, right? You know that there is no actual such thing as magic. Jesus? Maybe that should be a new name for people who worship Jesus. It actually saves some time if you say Jesus. I mean, I would love to be reborn in a magical realm as well. But you know that there are no Nazis in magical realms, right? Like, you know that Nazis only exist where people can be evil. Have exorcisms in the church. You are just dumb. Interesting that you just kind of resort to, you know, trying to reduce my intelligence because what you're saying sounds ridiculous. It's like, well, you're stupid, so you wouldn't know. I know God. I know magic. And you're not magic, so you wouldn't know. You're stupid. Does that sound like an argument that an adult would make? Because I got news for you. That would be wrong.
But that's one reason it was supported so much, and no one really came out against it. But it was really a...
Nazis are actually not socialist. They call themselves socialists. Socialists are, you know, for the working man and you know, for gathering all of our resources together and helping each other. That's not what the Nazi Party did. You cannot be racist and be a socialist. It doesn't work. Communities are supposed to, like, mesh together. That's what socialism is. Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, all those things, that's socialism. So, they do magic in the church, you're an idiot. I mean, most Christians would disagree with you. They don't call it magic. Because they're actually specifically not calling it magic because that's like would destroy their religion, I guess, because they've taken a bunch of pagan rituals and stuff and adopted it into their religion. Most Christians would disagree with you. The priest has POW. Like a POW block from Mario? Ghost Samurai, I think I recognize you. Welcome back. And yes, I do recognize you because I do not understand what that means. Israel sacrificed red heifers shipped from Texas last year. So socialists can only discriminate. I don't know what you just said, Skippy. White people L. What does that even mean? The priest has magic over demons. Again, Christians would not call what they do magic. They would shy way away from calling it magic.
A move to get rid of the Jews. It was a disgrace that the...
Judging by your typing, I'm going to guess it's not me who is the idiot.
Other doctors and lawyers didn't stand up for the Jewish doctor.
You know that having faith doesn't mean that you're smart. Do you know that? It doesn't seem like you know that. It seems like you might not know that. It doesn't mean you're smart. It just means that you have faith. And faith specifically needs you to be ignorant in order for it to work. So, if anything, you're specifically not smart. So, again, most Christians wouldn't call what they do magic. I'm atheist, and I know for a fact that most Christians, the predominant Christians of the world, would not call what they do magic. They don't like calling it magic. If you say, I'm smart, you're not, and you use the wrong word for your, are you trolling? Please tell me you're trolling. It's a good troll if you're trolling.
Doctors and lawyers, but I think
my hat's off to you. I can't take, because the
One
headphones
was
are a
actually
bear to try and
were
get
fine
back on normally, but
with the Nazi
my
propaganda
beanie's
and
off
racial
to you.
hygiene, and really believed the Jews were infecting.
Well, if you're using that
national
in
body
the, if you're using that in the term or in the meaning of the word, it is possible that my education was stunted at some point, just because I think I was probably too distracted during class. I had ADHD and all that kind of stuff. So, but if you're using it as a slur, then I guess sure, okay, fair enough. But that doesn't mean stupid, though. That doesn't mean less smart. It would be, if you were trying to use that term without using an outdated term, you would say, oh, it's just a developmental disability, right? It must be very convenient to believe in an ideology that can do no wrong and absolve themselves from all past wrongs. Yeah, you're talking about Catholicism, it seems like, because that's confession. Do Christians get absolved? I think Christians just, I think they just accept the love of Jesus and then they get into heaven. I don't know if they, I don't know if they atone. So yeah, I don't know. Do Christians atone? I think sects of Christianity has like atonement practices, but I think Catholicism is really like the main one. Like maybe Mormons? No, I don't know. If anyone of you guys know if there are other religions besides Catholicism where people atone, I feel like maybe Eastern religions have some component of atonement to their stuff. I'm not sure. Let me know in the chat.
Of Germany, but economics was not irrelevant. It made those professions much scarcer. Therefore, they could charge more money. Therefore, they were more revered. So they had self-interest in that as well.
What's up, Ducky? Ducky. Huh. Demonizing of the outgroup.
In the Nazi blueprint for a healthy society,
what does that
those
sound
with
like?
disabilities had no place. A Berlin memorial today commemorates some 200,000.
They do not want unbound spiritual power outside the church. They hid magic, you know nothing, that's all. Oh, okay, sure. No way that there's a person out there that is that moronic and insulting unless they have a mental health issue. Yeah, I mean, I don't know nothing. It's hard to know nothing. I think, a lot of people would say that a person's like dead if they don't know anything. Like their brain's not active. So I can't know nothing. I know something about some stuff, right? You're just dumb. And it took you how long to start using the right form of the words you're using? I think this sounds a little like projection.
Deemed
maybe you just have
not
weak
worthy
faith.
of life by Hitler's manipulation of the law.
So the Nazis proposed racial laws beginning in 1933. That law was called the Law for the Prevention of Hereditarily Diseased Offspring.
So they can do magic, but not me. Well, I mean, now you're just tipping your hand. It's clear you're just trolling. Like, that didn't even make sense. You never even said that you could do magic. You just tried to say that you're smart and that I was dumb. When did you say you could do magic? Are you a priest? Is that why you were saying that priests have magic? You're just dumb like them. Like who? Like priests? Or are you talking about Jewish people? Do Jewish people do magic?
Now, I think even the language, the wording of that
Very
law
strange.
is important. You're not preventing diseases. You're preventing diseased offspring. And what that law recommended,
I can do magic.
based on
What's
the
that
science
one
of the day,
where it's
was
like,
that people who were considered not to be contributing to the genetic health
I can do magic
of the body of the Reich could be forcibly sterilized.
I can't.
And in
I
fact,
can do it.
that law
It's right.
actually
It's you
said
just
50,000
you do a thing.
Germans a year ought to be sterilized, even if it was against their will.
Nope, I didn't.
For
I
the
didn't
good
do it.
of the Reich.
It's right. It's almost. It's. Nope. Hang on. There. Oh, and then you fold, and then you fold, and then you fold it under, right? Or the other way. You fold it under.
Those racial
look at it, look.
laws were important
I make my thumb
because they codified
that way. See?
authors.
Oh, it's crazy.
And
It's like
binding
you see that?
suggested
I made it
in
move.
the
I can't.
1920,
It's very hard to do
in a
at this
book in
angle.
which they coined this phrase, "life unworthy
hard.
of life."
But I did it. I
It
kind of.
began
Kind of did
in
it.
the with the sterilization.
The church doesn't want you to know
of
magic
Germans
works.
who were
Okay.
retarded and the, you know. And
We
the,
all
and
know
the
nothing.
mentally
Who
ill.
cares? Because God is real. Can you prove it, LBC? Again, if you can give me tangible proof that God is real, like pray for something, make it happen. Where's the magic? But LBC, you know, you'd be a good person to answer this. Do Christians call what they do magic? Do they? Do they? I normally, to my knowledge, they usually don't. They usually don't call it magic. And they try to like shy away from it, you know? Who cares? God is real. Do you like sounding ignorant? Because that's how you sound. If you don't want to know if something is for real, then why are you even here? Why are you even doing anything? What is the point? It's like how you guys address atheism. It's like, well, if you don't believe that there's a God, if you don't believe that there's a heaven or hell or that morals aren't real, then what the hell? What's the point? I ask you the same fucking thing. If you don't care if the God that you worship is real, then why even do it? It's because you found an attachment to something. It's because you found fulfillment through something that you don't even know is real. I mean, that just seems like pounding your head against a wall and hoping that you're gonna, you know, break through it somehow. I don't know. Maybe you will if your skull is thick enough. But most cases you probably
the
won't.
Sterilization program, 1933, the sterilization
Just gonna get a
law,
concussion.
which allowed compulsory sterilization for the feeble-minded, which was a catch-all for anybody you wanted to sterilize. But the sterilization program moved into the child euthanasia program. And the child euthanasia program moved into the adult euthanasia program. Doctors involved in all of this. There were genetic sterilization courts where two physicians and a lawyer sat on the sterilization court.
And like, imagine there's a world where people learn from this, including both sides. If, you know, the left side learned from this, the right side sure did. Doesn't matter who or which entities learned from it. Everyone learned from this. And in the ensuing years, is it perhaps reasonable to assume that maybe they would use something different other than outright, you know, euthanizing people, same, like, without calling it euthanasia, those things like that? Maybe, like, you know, they would sanction secret police to roam the streets. Maybe they would, you know, try to do mass deportations and just allow people to die in the detention centers. You know, maybe they would word things completely different. Maybe they wouldn't call themselves National Socialists. Maybe they would call themselves Christian nationalists, or maybe that would be too taboo. Maybe they would just call themselves nationalists, but maybe that would be taboo. Maybe they would call themselves, I don't know, the Two Percenters, or Proud Boys, or ICE. You know, perhaps, maybe it might be reasonable to think. I don't know, perhaps. When I say who cares, God is real, this is how you sound when you say who cares, God is not real. I don't say who cares. I say that I believe that God is not, or I don't even believe that God's not real. I just do not believe in a God. I have no belief in any all-powerful deity. Zero belief. There's a lack of belief. That doesn't mean that I have a counter-belief, that I believe there is no God. I'm just an atheist. Atheist, meaning the opposite of a theist. Theists believe there is a God. Atheists do not believe there is a God. They do not believe. They don't believe that there is no God. They just don't have the belief that there is a God. There is a distinction between the two. Godspeed, I'm not going to look up anything you're asking me to look up, man. You got to start making sense. You're almost making less sense than, what's-his-face? Ghost Samurai. You know?
One physician had to be an expert on eugenics or hereditary, and so they decided almost universally to allow sterilization. But after that, moved on to the euthanasia program, which is a misnomer, by the way. It was a murder. It wasn't euthanasia. These were not terminally ill people. It was just murder.
People they found to be inferior, mentally inferior. Almost like if you label all protesters as domestic terrorists, the people who are on your platform probably won't disagree when you extrajudicially kill them. It's all about desensitizing. It's like they're trying to make you be okay with death. And that's not cool. You should not be okay with death. Nobody should be okay with death.
The strategy of Hitler's political regime was to undermine, dismantle, and decimate all ties to traditional religion. The government attempted to have the folk aspire to a single national Reich Church under Reichsbishop Ludwig Müller.
Oh my god, that's a mouthful. You sound like he was gargling those words.
Im Namen unseres Führers Adolf Hitler und im Namen der ganzen deutschen
Weird. Hey, did you guys know that? Did you Christians know that the Nazis had a church? Did you know that they had a church? Several churches. Did you guys know that? Did you guys know that? Yes, that is actually a thing that I really enjoyed reading about. The religion of Zoroastrianism contains one of the first accounts of a duality. There we go. Of a duality in religion, and the transcript actually informed a lot of the stuff that was found in the Bible. So those ancient Mesopotamian, Sumerian religions or whatever bullshit. So cool. Zoro and Aster, I think. Or was that the one with the Eldabath, or was that the was that a different? I think that was the Sumerian god. Not sure. Not sure. But it was really cool to hear about those. Zoroastrianism. Let me look that up. One of the world's oldest monotheistic faiths, it centers... Oh, Ahura Mazda! It centers on worshiping the creator god, Ahura Mazda, and following the ethical path of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds to combat evil. Sacred texts were the Avesta. Monotheism, dualism. Who's the bad guy? Oh, Angra Mainyu. Asha Andruj. So you have free will, right? Free will is a concept that came from the Asha. There is a heaven or a hell, and there is an apocalypse. The prophet Zarathustra, Zoroaster, he was the guy who founded Zoroastrianism. Estimated to have originated between 1500 and 1000 BC, or as late as 6th century BCE. Hey guys, when did Christianity start? Hey guys, when did Christianity start? Oh, yeah, that's right. The oldest manuscript we have is only about 800 years old. Holy text. Primary scripture is the Avesta, which includes the Gathas, hymns believed to be composed by Zoroaster himself. Fire is considered a sacred symbol of purity and wisdom, leading to worship in fire temples where a flame is kept burning constantly. Adherents are initiated into the faith and wear a second shirt and belt. Seems like that would lead to overheating. It's so funny that atheists know about more about religions of the world. 300 AD. Okay, so a good difference of what, 1400 years, 15, 16, 17, yeah, 1400 years on the top end. Did you Christians know that? You guys are pretty quiet now. Are you praying for me? They had burial rituals. Let's see. Nope. Yeah. There you go. Interesting that there was a Bible before the Bible. Very interesting. Very interesting. And it's also interesting that the Abrahamic texts were around before the Bible, but set when? 6,000 years ago? How's that work? I'll continue to ponder that one. Yeah, weird. Yeah, weird how that happens. Weird how the Torah gets written over millennia before Jesus Christ. You know, and it's so strange that the oldest manuscript is just so recent. It's just so recent. It's so recent. Oh man, I wish I was eating a big plate of pizza right now. I don't know why I would call it a plate of pizza, but I would put it on a plate. Ooh, oh, pizza. I can look at this. Oh yeah, pizza. Look at that. That's my intro screen. Oh, pizza. I love pizza. I love it so much. Yeah, Helmet, have a good one. No problemo.
Risked his life by giving an anti-euthanasia sermon in Münster on August 3rd, 1941.
That's an interesting, that's an interesting name you have there, Laugh. It made me laugh. And what situation in America? You mean this guy who was killed extrajudicially by ICE agents? Why do you think I'm playing how the Nazis rose to power? Are you Christian in USA Israelites?
The euthanasia policy was scaled back.
Is that a question?
In 1937, the relationship.
Is it supposed to be Dick or Dyke? Because I can't. DYK could be Dick, but it also could be Dyke. And you know, a Dyke is a thing that you put in a dam, right? Like it plugs the holes. And then a Dick is like there's a brand of sausage makers that are typically called Dicks. I agree. Fuck ICE, Don. I agree.
Between the church and state in Germany had reached a point where there was great tension, specifically on the freedom of Catholic organizations, the arrest of Catholic clergy, and the situation of Catholic schools and religious education being taught in schools, and the future question of Catholic youth groups and ministry to youth.
So if you're just joining, we're watching how the Nazis rose to power. I think it's the Nazi dismantling of constitutional law in Germany. It talks about how the Nazis, as they were rising to power, had people installed in lawmaker positions where they would actually get laws passed that supported their agenda, almost like Project 2025. Stephen Miller's personal fucking think tank. Oh my god, I'm gonna sneeze and I don't want to. We were talking about adult euthanasia. All of this is relevant because a U.S. citizen was killed on American soil by secret police, essentially. And his last words were, "Are you okay?" Is that what someone says when they're brandishing a weapon at somebody? No. Nor was there a weapon in his hand in any of the videos. So it's so strange because all the publicity that we're getting out of the Capitol is that. I think instead of sneezing, I'm going to try and blow my nose and see if maybe that gets rid of the sneeze. Brad, I mean, they are just about as close as you can get to Nazis without calling themselves Nazis. So, I mean, in everything but name, yeah. Guys that wear masks, that don't have to follow the Constitution, that don't have to Again, Skippy, I told you that socialism is not what the Nazis were doing. They just called themselves socialists. See, that's the difference here. These guys aren't calling themselves Nazis, but they're acting like Nazis. The Nazis at the time didn't necessarily have that connotation to the word, so they really had no problem with it. But they made sure to call themselves something that the majority of people would support, which just proves that socialism's pretty popular when people knew what it was. And so therefore, he kind of usurped that title, and now people have a negative connotation with socialism and communism. My perfect what, Skippy? My perfect what? No, because they're not socialists. Yes, nothing is ever your fault. Who is me? Who are you associating me with? Because I think you might be mistaken. You've come in here and you haven't learned anything about who I am, and so you're now associating me with entire groups of people that I may not identify with? Come on, man. Do at least a cursory amount of research here, okay? Okay?
And with that, the German bishops
and yes, I am
were so
perfect.
concerned that they
and no, I never
petitioned
do anything
the
wrong
Holy
ever
Father,
in my life.
the Pope, to
I'm
do
just
something
perfect.
about that. To try
And it's
to
mostly
protest.
my looks. It's mostly like just that I'm so youthful and handsome and so like distinguished all the time, you know. And it's my hair, how it's luxurious, even though it's short. There's so much life in it. I can't. It's under a beanie, so I have hat hair. But believe you me, when it is longer, it is luxurious. All right, it's like a beautiful horse's fucking mane. All right. So yeah, I mean, in terms of like how handsome and smart I am, you could probably call me perfect. But no, I am wrong about stuff occasionally. Just not about how I look. Or my sexiness. You can't argue against that. I mean, look. I mean, come on. I mean, come on. I mean, come on. Come on. I mean, come on. I mean, come on. I mean, come on. You know? I mean, come on. A perfect guy like you is a great wingman. That means that I'm at least good looking enough to get the backup, right? To get the second choice, I guess, if you were to say what a wingman is for. At least I look good enough to be convincing at that. Then, you know, I'll consider that a compliment. Thank you. Appreciate it. Give that man $1. I don't know how, but if there's any magic believing Christians, can you pray for $1, please, for Brad Pitbull? Hopefully, if God is real, it will manifest right in front of him and float safely down into his wallet.
The result, with input from the German bishops,
Amen.
Mit Brennen der Sorge, with burning desire, with burning.
Oh, there's
concern,
there's Hitler with a
stating
priest.
that to
Hey, did you
do
guys
something,
see?
burning desire?
There's Pope Pius. Do you see? God loves Hitler. You know, it seems, I don't know, it seems pretty plain as day right there.
Stating that the German Catholic Church was under persecution.
It's a little shady.
That the Vatican government was in
Oh.
no way.
Oh no, is that? I'm sorry. Is he raising? Is he doing the Nazi salute? Is this priest doing the Nazi salute? Everything is designed around us. Why isn't nature itself designed? What? Are you making the atheist argument that that it's weird to think that things are designed? Because I agree. I'm just not sure if that's if that's what you were saying. Catholics salute. Do you see who they're shaking hands with? Do you? Oh, okay. It could. Yeah, I was gonna say it could be the officer. I just couldn't tell if that was his shoulder or not. Whatever. Screw that. He's still fucking saluting. God exists. How Are you sure you're following the right one? Because if you're Christian, this is what you look forward to in heaven. You're going to see this guy. You're going to see most of these guys, all devout Christians, going so far as to outlaw all other religions and make one unified German salute. German salute. Did I say German salute? German church. German unified church. Christian, by the way.
Following what it promised to do in the Reich Vatican Concordat.
You're right. Those are men who you're going to see in heaven. If you're Christian and you're going to heaven, you're going to see those men there.
Agreement. That statement was actually.
Would you want to go to heaven? So, and knowing that you're going to hang out with Hitler?
Germany, the Gestapo.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I would.
Any of the printed copies throughout.
Maybe that would give me a bad taste in my mouth over heaven.
Confiscated them.
You know.
Throughout the Reich. But the information and the protest was lodged, and it was heard very clear.
Yes, weaponized, and I would go even further to say is it's been used as an excuse for the killings of just scores of innocent people over, our history. Tell me something that Jesus said that is not something you would follow. Well, he said, I have come to fulfill the old law. Or no, he said, I've not a jot or tittle of the old laws shall change. And then he said, I have come to fulfill the old laws and the new. And do you remember what the old laws are? Do you remember Leviticus? I really like your username. Do you not remember Leviticus? Leviticus Cornwall. I think that is, from RDR2? I think. I don't remember. But in Leviticus, it says that you take slaves from the lands around you and that they're your property and you can bequeath them to your kids as property. And Jesus said, come to fulfill the old laws and the new. So, I guess peace and love are great, but I would also like a little bit of a denouncement of slavery. I'd also like denouncement against the innocent murder of virgins on their wedding nights because they don't bleed. About 40% of women don't bleed their first time. And that certainly led to some deaths. I would have wanted Jesus to denounce the 2 times his dad murdered the world. That I know of. That I can remember off the top of my head. Except unless we're talking about in the future in the Megiddo Valley. Well, actually, no. Not a jot or tittle of the law shall change. I'm just saying. Not a jot or tittle. Not a jot or tittle. You should know that Jesus wasn't saying he was God. It was a misunderstanding. I don't care. I don't believe that Jesus was any kind of holy anything. It is not written in your law, I said ye are gods. I have said ye are gods. I'm not arguing over the nuances of the Bible. I'm mostly just arguing that Jesus was most likely a snake oil salesman. Giving people bar tricks and close-up magic. And even if 1 million people believed that he was the Son of God, that does not make him the Son of God. Even if 10 million people believed that he was the Son of God, that does not make him the Son of God. Even if 100 million people believe that he was the Son of God, that doesn't mean he was the Son of God. The truth is what matters. What did he mean by the laws shouldn't change? He said, not a jot or tittle of the laws shall change. He said, I have come to fulfill the old laws and the new. Those are both from the Bible. So, I'm just quoting your book to you.
The Reich passed the law.
Would you die for a lie? What on earth are you talking about? Would you die for a lie? You mean his crucifixion? How do you even know he was crucified? How do you even know? Like, you have no firsthand testimony. You have no DNA evidence. You have no pictures or, recorded records of the actual, events itself. You have no anything. You have no proof that any of the things that happen in the Bible that says they happened to Jesus actually happened. What laws do you know what he meant by laws? Yes. The old laws. Do you not know what the old laws are? It's what's contained in Leviticus. It's what he instructed for the recently freed slaves from the Egypt, I think it was. I'm sorry, but the Shroud of Turin doesn't prove anything. Even if it has Jesus' DNA in it, doesn't prove anything. He could, like, have, again, hundreds of millions of followers, and they could have witnessed him die, and that doesn't mean he's the Son of God, it doesn't mean he's God, it doesn't mean he's holy, it doesn't mean anything. It just means that people believed his stories. That's all. Again, you can prove he was a real guy. That doesn't mean that he was holy. Doesn't mean that he was the representative for Christianity. It means that he was able to be very convincing, probably had a lot of riz, as the kids say these days.
Professional civil service. And while this did not require the churches to employ only non-Jewish pastors, many in the churches, certainly not all, but many sought to implement that policy in the church.
Many of the Christian churches.
On the part of the Reich,
oh, look, there's a bunch of crosses with
so
the Nazi symbol in it.
The confessing church seminaries, which had been operating for a few years, were closed down. They were declared illegal, so they had to go underground to talk about the Bible, to train people for ministry and these sorts of things.
The Bible. Did you hear? The Bible. You said the Bible. The Bible. E, are you intentionally misunderstanding the Bible right now? The law did not mean the 10 Commandments. I mean, yeah, I'm sure that's part of it. With the Sermon on the Mount, was that the Sermon on the Mount, Mount Sinai? From the burning bush and shit? Sure. But also the laws are that you may take slaves from the lands around you. Everything contained in Leviticus. You may take slaves from the lands around you. They will be your property. You can bequeath them to your kids. What part of that don't you understand? Do you know the Democrats read the Bible too? I don't believe that any organized religion is overall good for humanity. I think that people can make it good, and they can make it mean what they want. And that requires a lot of denial. That means saying, well, he didn't mean these things, he meant good things. And you have to do that with a lot of things in the Bible, just to make it sound good. But I applaud them for trying to do that. You know, more power to them. I believe the Bible, I think that we've still been able to establish that the Bible was written by people residing in the Middle East. I don't know that for sure, but that's, I think, to my most recent memory. So I don't think it was written by necessarily white people, but maybe people with less melanin in their skin, perhaps. But no, I don't. No, I don't think so. I don't know that particular part of the Bible's origin. But yeah, I think people can use religion for good, but I think the majority of people who hide behind religion do not use it for good. So, and that's like, you know, you just kind of have to hide behind it, you know, and I don't know. I don't like that when people use it as a shield, especially when they're like, like, let's say that someone let's say someone hits a car when they're drunk, you know, and they kill a person in the car, and they go to AA and they accept Jesus Christ into their life. They can now excuse the thing that they did because of some unaccountable private, secret partner or silent partner that doesn't take a cut of whatever you get, including absolution. And so it allows you to create a shield around yourself where you don't have to take accountability for the things that you've done. And on the converse side, it's bad because if you keep attributing all of your successes to God, you're never going to appreciate yourself for the effort that you put into things. So I don't know. I think that having someone stand between you and self-actualization is a bad thing, just kind of all around. And God does that. The Bible puts itself between you and self-actualization. You know, it creates a film in between your brain and reality. It was written in Greek by Greeks who couldn't read or speak Hebrew, which is why they misquote the Old Testament so much. Okay, in Greek by Greeks. And they were olive-skinned, right? They had some amount of melanin in their skin, I believe. I would have assumed. So not specifically whites. How do you believe this universe came into existence? Why do people always ask that, man? I don't care how the universe came into existence. That's not important to me. I don't know. I think that a lot of experts have differing opinions, but almost nowhere in the spectrum of opinions that the most educated people on the planet have had resides God. And he might be on the far end of one side of that spectrum, but he's on the outside of it. There's a million, bajillion, quadrillion, fafillion, infinite things that it could be that don't include a God. It could even be another God. If it's not your God, it could be a Greek God. If it's not a Greek God, it could be... Yes, the Greeks did indeed have a problem with underage boys. They did indeed. I will agree with that. Don't ever watch the movie Caligula. Or at least... I don't remember if Roman Polanski put out the one that I'm thinking of. Don't watch anything that Roman Polanski writes or directs either. But yeah, it was a fucked up society.
Then in 1939, all of the confessional schools, both Protestant and Catholic, were closed throughout Germany. So there was a very antagonistic approach on the parts of the regime.
I'm going to grab some more water.
So when we talk about...
Thank you guys for sticking around. I really appreciate it, even if you don't agree with my opinion.
I think
you know, we talk about mostly religion on Mondays and politics on Tuesdays, but because of the events that happened over the weekend, we're focusing on a bit more politics today. And I just want to say thanks. So yeah, I'd appreciate it if you put a like on the video. If you like any kind of this stuff, you know, on the regular, then subscribe. I'm really trying to build a community, and not even necessarily of like-minded people, just a community of people who, if we can have spirited discussions without descending into anger, then I love that kind of shit. So, you know, feel free. I'm gonna grab more water, and please continue listening. Yep.
Well, they behaved them like other traitors. For example, if women weren't prepared to work in the factories to construct weapons, they were sentenced to death. And that had been the same with men who weren't prepared to go to the army. They didn't have a particularly feeling against the belief system of Jehovah's Witnesses. They didn't know the system. They only had the notion that Jehovah's Witnesses didn't adore the system. They weren't prepared, for example, to do the Hitler greeting.
I have a theory on that.
To celebrate his birthday.
Not so private playlist. I think if we look at all of these significant events in the Bible, it kind of tells the story of people who are continuously on a journey to grab more power. You know, including maybe even the motivation behind God sending his son down to gather the faithful. It kind of feels like it's all an allegory for why the constant need to increase one's power or one's standing might lead to downfall. And the people who rewrote it or who misinterpreted it could very well have just said the things that would make them be in control. You know, oh, well, we've got these laws now that you've got to abide by. I know you liked how this book sounded when you know, the original guys wrote it. So we're going to try and present it in exactly the way they wrote it. But now, you know, it's got this edition. It's a new edition. It's a revised copy. It's got these laws that you're going to have to live by if you want to be seen as a good person. And if you do, if you live by those, then you can go and like be in heaven and stuff. You get like a really nice afterlife, you know? So there you go. That's my theory. Read Exodus chapter 21. There was Hebrew servants, and then it goes on to talk about all servants in general. They had sojourners, and you can see a progression of laws for them as time goes on. Are you talking about the whole stuff before the year of Jubilee stuff? Because I would say that if it's after all the Exodus stuff, if you're into Leviticus, they're talking about your fellow Hebrews or your fellow Israelites, I believe, when they're saying not to treat people unfairly. That doesn't happen, or that's not like the law for the slaves that you take from the lands around you. Like those are others. They're not supposed to be treated respectfully, not necessarily respectfully, but they're not supposed to not be treated unfairly. There's good testaments within the old, good evidence within the Old Testament itself, leading to Yahweh being the war god of a pantheon. I would not, if god pantheons were a real thing, like real tangible thing, like they are in Marvel, like that's all canon to the universe. Like if they were like real, it wouldn't be hard to imagine that as being a possibility, because it's all about war and conquest with the Abrahamic God, right? Crazy. Also, you wouldn't abuse a slave if you truly believed all humans are made in the image of God. You know, that's really funny, because God also says that if you beat your slave with a rod so hard that he dies, that you have to pay a fine. But if he gets up after a day or two, then it's all good because he is your property. Does that not seem like abuse to you? Seems like abuse. I don't know. And giving your slaves children to your family, does that seem like abuse? Because that's one of the laws too. Are you an atheist? Yes, I am an atheist, Robert. Roberto! Good sir. Senor. I don't know why I'm speaking Spanish. I do descend into it every now and again.
It was a great day in National Socialist Germany, and
do you watch Ian Justin Mezzo? Are you talking about the guys on the line? If that's who you're talking about, I do sometimes, just because they happen to stream and do calls like around the same time as me, which is why I miss it a lot. But at night I sometimes watch the line. They stream sometimes a little later on. I think if you're talking about that, I don't know. I am new to this channel. Well, welcome, Robert. I appreciate your presence here. We're talking about how the Nazis dismantled constitutional law in Germany right now. Just kind of in the wake of this weekend's events, because this is just kind of what I see going on, and you can feel free to disagree with me if you like, but this is just kind of how I'm vibing right now, you know.
that was sufficient. That was it. And they were surprised how strong these small group of believers resisted them.
In the Third Reich, Jehovah's Witnesses faced a unique choice with regard to their faith.
Jehovah's Witnesses?
Witnesses were offered to sign a paper to
Weird.
end their relationship with the organization, with the Watchtower
Jehovah's
Society,
Witnesses are
and then they could be
kind of a
free.
new thing for
But,
me. I haven't done a lot of
didn't
research into
do
them.
that.
But they have like this, I guess, interesting
The
history.
situation of the Jews. The situation of the Jews.
I didn't know that they were around as far back as World War II.
Assimilated Jews who didn't even know that their fathers and grandfathers had been Jews hadn't any chance to flee the system because of their blood.
The Jews were the most persecuted for both religious and racial reasons.
Well, nice to meet you, Batman. It looks like your name is the Dark Hand, but I will totally accept that you are Batman. But I wouldn't go around saying that you're Batman, because people know his secret identity. You're gonna have to find a new hero name. In Gotham City, what is the opposite of ICE? Is this
From October
a joke
1939, they were
that you're about to tell?
relocated into large urban ghettos.
Because
in
I'll wait
Warsaw,
for the punchline if it
Lwów,
is, otherwise I'll guess.
Lublin and Krakow.
Is it Batman?
To control these communities with a false sense of law and order, the Nazis established the Judenrat, a Jewish council within each ghetto. These forced liaisons between council members and Nazi over.
Why did Jews get reparations and not black slaves in the USA? Well, because we didn't fight a war over, over the civil rights issues in America. We fought a war over the systematic murder of millions of Jews. So war reparations are a thing. And once we fight a war over, the civil rights mistreatment of blacks since the Civil War, because we already did kind of fight a war over it, but it was more so like slavery. Yeah, you got any better laws for a slave at the time? Lol, by the way, that's not true. What are you talking about? I read the Bible to you. They had people with them that were to be considered actual Israelites, so they wouldn't got the laws. You're gonna have to structure your sentence in a way that I can understand it, because that was very difficult to parse. I assume that the argument that you're using is the same one that I constantly hear in support of slavery, and that's, well, it was normal around the time, it wasn't treating slaves badly. No, just so you know, in Leviticus, when they lay out the laws that you're supposed to follow as a good Christian, they tell you that you are supposed to take slaves from the lands around you. And they even differentiate between slaves and fellow Israelites. So it's kind of hard to think, oh no, they lump all servants together when you say that you're not supposed to necessarily mistreat slaves. It's fellow Israelites. That's all. Not your slaves, not your other slaves. Shouldn't be taking slaves in the first place. God could have laid that out as a law. Thou shalt not take slaves. Sounds like a good one. I think everyone agrees that slavery is bad. I think that you'd be hard pressed to find someone who genuinely believes that slavery is a good thing. Oh, did you read Leviticus chapter 25? For Christ's sake, dude. Chapter 25. Oh yeah, the year of Jubilee. I asked you if you were talking about that. So, you're saying to redeem their houses, and your fellow Israelites become poor and are unable to support themselves among you. Help them as you would a foreigner or stranger, so they can continue living among you. That means take them as slaves. Do not take interest or any profit from them, but fear your God, so they may continue to live among you. You may not lend them money or at interest, or sell them food at a profit. I am Lord your God, who brought you to Egypt, give you the land Canaan to be your God. If any of your fellow Israelites become poor and sell themselves to you, do not make them work as slaves. Oh, do not make them work as slaves. So your fellow Israelites, they are to be treated as hired workers or temporary residents among you. So they are workers and not slaves, but you still have slaves, right? Then they and their children are to be released. Kind of sounds like they're slaves, but you treat them like workers. So like live-in workers. But they can't leave if they want, right? Can they? I don't know. But it seems like they can't leave after or until after the year of Jubilee. Do not rule over them ruthlessly, your fellow Israelites, but fear your God. And here's where it gets really, really interesting. Jesus is king. Here's where it gets really interesting. Your male and female slaves are to come from the nations around you. From them you may buy slaves. You may also buy some of the temporary residents living among you. So that means you can turn your workers into slaves and members of their clans born into your country, families, and they will become your property. You can bequeath them to your children as inherited property and can make them slaves for life. But you must not rule over your fellow Israelites ruthlessly. You're bashing religion, but you don't have the moral high ground. Your own religion, atheism, murdered millions under Russian communist rule. Well, no, Russians have an orthodox religion. It's not atheism. And I am atheist. That means I am not a theist. That means atheism is the opposite of theism. Theism means you believe in a god. Atheism means you don't believe in a god. I don't have a book that I follow. I don't have a doctrine that I follow. I just have a lack of belief in God. Sorry. You have no power here. So that's the ones that are considered Israelite. What the fuck are you talking about? Oh, and those people can buy other slaves. God told his chosen people, Israelites, your male and female slaves are to come from the nations around you. That means so the nations that you neighbored with, the nations that you conquer, the nations that you are, in trade with. Those nations, which are, other people who don't necessarily have your same look or your same religion. It's other people, not your fellow Israelites. From them you may buy slaves. The period here, the very full stop sentence, is that slavery is wrong. It's not, oh, slavery was okay in some instances. No, slavery was wrong, and an all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good God would not have allowed that to happen. Read Numbers 25. You mean Numbers, the book Numbers? Or Numbers in Leviticus 25? If one of your fellow Israelites becomes poor and sells some of their property, their nearest relative is to come and redeem what they have sold. If, however, there is no one to redeem it for them, but later on they prosper and acquire sufficient means to redeem it themselves, they are to determine the value for the years since they sold it and refund the balance to one whom they sold it. They can then go back to their own property, but if they do not acquire the means to repay, what is sold will remain in possession of the buyer until the year of Jubilee. It will be returned in the Jubilee, and they can then go back to their property. What the fuck are you talking about? What of this proves that it's okay to own slaves? Like, what of that makes it okay? I mean, it's all right here. Your male and female slaves are to come from the nations around you. From them you may buy slaves. Oh, okay, the Book of Numbers. All right, let's look at the Book of Numbers. Numbers 25, you said? I can just do it from here. This is the site I usually go to anyway. Numbers. Numbers 25. Is it this one? Numbers chapters 25. Okay. Which verses? You gotta give me verse and chapter. I gotta know. I gotta know, like, first of all. Because I'm not seeing it there. That's for chapter Numbers 31, top. This one? Vengeance of the Medanites? Just confirm for me that we're in the right place. Top 2 paragraph. I guess I read the book like an order, like you're supposed to. So 25 and 31? Thank you, fuck's sake. Numbers 31, verses 17, 18. Yep, here we go. Oh yeah, here's a good one here, okay? Now kill all the boys, kill every man who has slept with a man, but save yourselves for every girl who has never slept for a man. Is that the one you were talking about? That's a good one. Thank you, RPP. I appreciate that. Thank you. What was I supposed to read in context before that? Is there is there some necessary context for that? Like I said, you got to give me chapter and verse. I can, you know, that was really easy to look up. WoW Classic lore, man. That lore is tired. It's all like fucking Lord of the Rings stuff.
Seers still remain a sensitive subject today.
Once you are in the ghetto, you basically in the camp to die. All the
beginning of the chapter. Okay, beginning of the chapter, Numbers 25. Thank you. Just the first two paragraphs, right? While Israel was staying at Shittim. That's a fun word to say. The men began to indulge in sexual morality with the Moabite women who invited them to the sacrifice of their gods. Why am I reading it like Eartha Kitt? Mr. President. The people ate the sacrificial meal and bowed before these gods, so Israel yoked themselves to the Baal of Peor, and the Lord's anger burned against them. What of this makes slavery okay? What of this makes slavery okay? The Lord said to Moses, "Take all leaders of these people, kill them and expose them in broad daylight before the Lord, so that the Lord's fierce anger may turn away from Israel." So Moses said to the Israel judges, "Each of you must put to death those of the people who have yoked themselves to the Baal of Peor." Then an Israelite man brought into the camp a Midianite woman right before the eyes of Moses and the whole assembly of Israel while they were weeping at the entrance to the tent of meeting. Dude, I really want a tent of meeting. I just want to be able to say, "Let us adjourn to my tent of meeting, please." But it's like a food stall outside or something. That'd be hilarious. When Phinehas and Ferb, son of Eleazar and son of Aaron, the priest, as he left the assembly, took spear in his hand and followed the Israelite into the tent. He drove the spear into both of them, right into the Israelite man and into the woman's stomach. Then the plague against the Israelites was stopped, but those who died in the plague numbered 2,400. All his people, so where is his favoritism? And yes, the Lord sees sexual sin as a big deal. Again, what of that makes slavery okay? I don't know where sexual depravity came into this, but what makes slavery okay? You are trying to justify slavery, understandably, because your book says it's okay. So you're trying to justify it. Is it because people are demons? But anyways, read it like you would any other book. LOL, it's pretty brutal. You mean the passage? I've read the book a few times now. Reject the biblical Lord, embrace the All-Father. I wish... Well, Odin's not really a good guy either. He was very deceptive. He was very duplicitous. He is, I think, a model to follow as somebody who can canonically bring together the realms, but the way that he did it was much like the Abrahamic God when he was doing Old Testament genocides. So, maybe also not a very good god to follow. Maybe no gods are very good gods to follow, you know? No Christian fought against it too. What? No Christian fought against it too. Just so you know, God tells you to own slaves. I don't know why you are choosing to ignore that, but it says on no uncertain terms that he wants you to own slaves. Not to mention Odin is kind of gay. Well, I don't know why that would be a problem, but also, didn't we just say something about Odin? Oh, not to mention Odin is kind of gay. I get it. Well, I don't see that where that would be a problem, but, you know, he's got much more worse qualities to worry about.
Germans start with the legal things. They come to the country and they say Jews cannot have a property. Jews.
Weird. So it's almost like, you know, just follow the law. Just follow the law, and it's actually the Nazis writing the law. Weird.
Cannot have radios. Jews cannot have fur. I mean, all the occupation laws function before the ghetto. Once you are in the ghetto, it's just waiting for death.
Yeah.
There's no more law in the ghetto. There are law, but there are Jewish law by Jewish Judenrat. Jews were already deprived of the basic things, and then creating of the Jewish district, of the ghetto.
What's Baltha from?
Was the final
I gotta pee, I'll be right back.
Occupation law, which was based,
Hi-ya!
of course, on a big lie.
Oh, my body and my bones.
That actually now, where Jews were already second-class citizens, and to protect them from anti-Semitism, from the conflict with the Christian population, apparently it would be better for them if the part of the city will be designated for them, so they can have their own governance. So my father, who was an engineer in woodworking construction, was working for the needs of the Jewish Council of Judenrat.
That is the most controversial question about the Shoah. It's about the Jews collaborating. Some say of their own will, some say that they've been forced to, but they were collaborating with the Nazis. Now, the big question is, which kind of collaboration was it? If it was voluntarily, then of course it's a terrible thing. But since we know that the totalitarian regime of the Nazis made people to do things that they would never do in otherwise. And in the concept of what
nice.
Katzetnik, he was one of the inmates in Auschwitz, and then he became to be a writer and a witness in Eichmann trial. He called it...
In the beginning of that chapter, number 25 is why he said, take from among you the nation. I'm paraphrasing. So you have to take a completely unrelated passage in the Bible, and then you have to twist it to make it fit why you think slavery is okay. You're trying to justify slavery. Why are you trying to justify slavery? Why can't you just say, hey, maybe that's not a good principle to follow? Maybe the Bible has a part of it that just, I don't know, doesn't mesh with true Christian values. Unless your true Christian values are that you support slavery. There's really no wiggle room here. Either you do or you don't. Lol, and Jesus said Moses had you divorce your wives, Matthew 19, but from the beginning it was not so. I would try to shy away from justifying slavery. It's in the same book 6 chapters later. Yeah, 6 chapters later. Right. Well and truly far away. So, I again, you're trying to justify slavery. About the same people in both chapters. Good Lord. You are trying to justify slavery. You're trying to say that slavery was all right. My point, the only point I've ever made, is that slavery's not okay. And you're just pushing back. I don't know why, because I would think that anybody could agree with me that slavery's not okay. So, maybe that was part of the Bible that was changed. You know, that would be cool. You know, if the Bible didn't originally have it, that'd be cool. But it has it in it. And this dude's trying to justify it. So, I don't know. It's not just a magic 8-ball. Sadly, that's what a lot of people look at it. Jesus is king. You know that I was reading sequentially from the Bible, and you had me go to a passage that was 6 chapters later. If anyone's treating it like a magical 8-ball where you can just pull things from it to fit how you like to justify things, that's more like a magic 8 ball. Come on. Can't you just say that slavery's bad? It wasn't very hard for Mike Stroh to do it. I can tell you that slavery's bad. All you got to do is admit that slavery's bad. That's all you got to do. No, my point is divorce is not okay. Why are you talking about divorce? I'm talking about slavery. You were talking about sexual depravity. I was talking about slavery. Slavery. That's what we're talking about. Slavery. No, there is stages. Nope. You're defending slavery. I don't understand why you can't just say that slavery is bad.
So in this...
Right, slavery is terrible. So why does your God command it? From them you may buy slaves, for they are your property. Why do you support that? There's no reason to. You can say that's a terrible part of the Bible. You can say you have every right to do that. You have free will, which means you get to make the choice of whether or not you support something that is terrible. Even if it's in the book you love. Even if it's in the book that makes you feel fulfilled. Even if you came to Jesus in a point of your life where you were especially vulnerable and you needed that support and he gave it to you, you can still say that slavery was a bad part of the Bible. That you don't have to agree with God on that particular thing. It's supposed to be a relationship, right? You're supposed to be able to have a talk with God, understand his motivations. Not everything he does is gonna be good. Because if he made us in his image, then he is just maybe a little bit insecure too. And means that he can make mistakes. I would love to think of God as an all-loving creator who makes mistakes, just like we do. In the book of St. Luke, it is written that the kingdom of God is in all men. That would have supported your argument. It wouldn't have made slavery okay, but it would have been a good thing to argue. Yes, just like divorce, you never plan on leaving your wife, but when you do mess up, it's nice to have plans, laws, etc. Like slavery is okay, and then to detail what happens when you beat your slave, whether or not you're absolved or you have to pay a fine. You're not making a good argument for slavery. I cannot stress enough that you are not making a good argument for slavery. It's okay to say that part of the Bible's not cool. There's also the, murdering of innocent virgins. I guess they're not virgins if they sleep with someone, but on their wedding night, you're supposed to stone a woman to death unless they bleed. And can you guess the percentage of women that bleed on their first time? Can you guess for me? It's not what you think. This is what happens when an ancient library is taken out of context and used as a universal guide instead of a personal one. I think that if we were all to understand that the Bible is an allegorical document for someone to gain inspiration from, and they can choose what parts they want to follow, that would, to me, would be the best expression of the Bible. But Christians don't like to do that. They don't like to cross God. They're scared of retribution. And that's what religion does to people. It can traumatize them into being compliant. And doesn't that look a little bit like what's happening in the US with the people who are supporting the murder of this man, Alex Pretti? Yeah. If you demonize someone long enough, people are going to be okay with them being killed in the streets. Because, what, they're domestic terrorists? Or they're posing an imminent threat? Where Asians are scared for their lives? Shouldn't be arguing for slavery. Are you guys pro-slavery? What's going on here? No, Mike Anderson. We are actually staunchly anti-slavery. I don't know how you might have picked that up. I'm not really religious. I hate everyone equally. I used to use that phrase constantly.
Other planets that have
I'm an
its
equal
own
opportunity
rules,
hater.
have its own language even. People acted differently.
Hey, go samurai. Yeah, you said the right thing there. Christianity is just child grooming. Although, You take it to a bit more of a personal place when I hated going to church. Well, you know, I mean, Skippy, you bring up a point that I've heard several times, and that's he shouldn't have been there. I mean, sure. I agree, you know. You shouldn't have... Oh, Mike Anderson, you bring up another point. Here we go. Hang on, but let me cover these one at a time, okay? So, he shouldn't have been there is an easy one. I mean, he was getting donuts. I mean, I don't think that there was let me see. It doesn't look like there was
outrage in President Trump.
Let's see if I can find the video. It doesn't look like this was like a demonstration, like an actual protest, but because there were people that were already gathered, just in general, for all the protests that have been going on since the killing of Renee Good, it's not hard to imagine that there were protesters out there, but I don't think that this was like a rally or anything. I think these people were just watching ICE when they were conducting a stop or something, and he comes at the ICE guys with his phone in his hand, just like this. Except I have Satan on my phone. Ha! Hail Satan. He had, you know, his phone up like this. His other hand is completely empty, and then they push a woman, and they push another woman. He goes to check the other woman. He goes to check the first woman, and he says, "Are you okay?" And he's trying to lift her up, and then they bear spray him, and then 6 or 7 guys tackle him. And then they run away with his gun, and then they unload on him. And that's why today we're starting with the Nazi dismantling of a constitutional law in Germany. So.
Because they were under a force, under a threat.
You can't reach for a gun while wrestling with officers. Well, they actually did a breakdown of that. If you watch, he never reached for his gun. He had his hands out the entire time. He was covering his head because they were pistol whipping him. Or whatever he had in his... I'm not going to say that the officer had a pistol in his hand. That's what all the accounts are saying, but I don't know for sure. So, I don't know. You cannot see the footage and be a reasonable person and think to yourself, he deserved it. You can't. That's why we're watching how the Nazis dismantled constitutional law in Germany, because that's what is fucking happening. And that's what's been happening. My lying what, though, Roscoe? My lying what? You gotta use the right words, man. You know? I did watch the video. I watched it several times from several different angles. Been watching it. I've been tracking this since that morning. Or do we have to sit back and wait until we know that it's the right cause? I think, you know, any cause is, you know, worth it to the person who's fighting for it. I don't know that we can necessarily look at causes in a vacuum and say, oh, you know, you should just always fight for what you believe in. I think it's more that we have to just exercise the rights that we have, you know. I love looking at a parallel of what's happening in the States and the origins of the Gestapo. They're surprisingly congruent, are they not? Go watch the video Incel. I have seen the video, again, 1,000,000 times. Are you asking me to put it on? Because I can. Follow these officers around day and night. They are at the hotels, honking their horns and screaming so they can't sleep. You don't think eventually that's going to cause some problems. Again, none of that should lead to death. Mike Anderson, I fully agree that it's dangerous to put yourself in a position where you're going to confront people in law enforcement or people with DHS or anything like that. But it doesn't deserve death. None of it deserves death. He had a permit to carry the gun. They cleared it before they started shooting. And then they unloaded on him. It wasn't necessary. Even if it was you know, I don't know, like a body shot, he still could have lived, but the guy executed him. He shot him in the back of the head. I mean, I don't know, you know, I don't know what other solution that I don't know. I think that arrest would have been, I don't know, maybe better. I don't know. You know, I just feel like your job is to enforce laws that are mostly administrative and civil, and you shouldn't be having, you really don't need guns for that particular job. But you have to fulfill, you know, you are a private army essentially. And so people get around that. It wasn't necessary. None of it was necessary. Why do you look like Samuel Jackson? I will take that as a compliment. And I'm going to pretend that you meant it to the fullest extent of saying it. I'll just assume that.
And they had
Thank
to
you.
manage somehow their own communities. They had to survive. That was always like that. That's how they survived.
The only controversy was a kind of ethical one, whether a Jewish person should help Germans to keep order.
Yeah, yeah, I was not going to comment on that because it's a bit of a somber video. I didn't want to... It did pause at a very funny time. So if you caught that... Fucking Christ. Get out your mom's house, boy. Okay. I haven't lived at my mom's house since I was 16. I do not like my mom. I'm not stressing that Tim Waltz has done. Rolled over. He's going to make a deal to get his ass out of the fraud. What fraud are you talking about? Mace Windu looking ass. Yeah. Fuck yeah. Justified. No. Wasn't. I mean, this will be... I don't think that this one's going to be as easy to cover up because there are several angles. Several people have their, their phones out at the time. And I think more people are going to start coming out of the woodworks as the news cycle starts dying down and people actually start investigating. Like, I have a feeling that this one's a little harder to cover up. They might do it, but I have a feeling that it's a little harder. Democrats are the brown shirts now. Do Democrats have troops walking through the streets? That's interesting, Roscoe. It's very interesting you would say that. Billions in fraud, and you deny it. You're not even truthful. You're going to have to point to an article or something. I haven't heard about any fraud happening. So. Incel. Though I've been happily married for 20 years, that title might apply in some instances. Married guys get it, don't you? Incel, justified. I mean, yeah, you can call me names all you want. You can say that it was justified all you want, but you're wrong. So he shouldn't have been there. Right. You're right. You are right. If I accept that he shouldn't have been there, it still means he didn't deserve to die. He shouldn't have been brandishing. You're right. But in every single video, he doesn't brandish. He has a phone in his hand. And if someone tried to make the argument that he was, they could have made it seem like his gun was in his hand, like, and that's the phone. Like, oh, the cops thought that it was the gun, or the phone was the gun. If they tried that excuse, I would be like, okay, maybe they're actually trying to spin it, but they just outright said that he pulled a gun on them. And then in the official, the official press release, Noam said that he approached them with a gun, which is easy language. It's certainly something that sounds like a bit of a dangerous situation, but he had a gun. That's what she meant by with a gun. That he had a gun on him. That's all. That he was permitted to carry. So, I don't know. On Twitter, racism is normalized. I see that all the time. It's actually... I would also extend that to Threads. It's pretty bad on Threads these days. Is Caps Lock's not still cruise control for cool? It's fun saying that, but no, it is not. The fact that Tim Walsh has got pictures with the people that have been arrested for fraud, you don't think that they're making deals to get Tim Walsh? I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You have to provide a link, man. Or at least a Google search for me, because I don't know what you're talking about. So those two, those are done. How do I put it? Can I put strike through? Is that a thing? That's a thing, right? I want to strike through it. Come on. How do I do this? Strike through, you bastard. Tools? Someone tell me the hotkey for strike through. Format text. There we go. Jesus, Alt-Shift-5. God damn. I mean, it's supposed to be like yelling, but, like, nobody does that anymore. Oh, no. He was buying donuts. He shouldn't have been brandishing. There you go. He straight up wasn't. See, there you go. I mean, if you guys have more arguments, I'm happy to look at them, but I don't think they'll be compelling.
Order with the Jews under Germans' orders, obviously. Of course, the other solution would be not to have any.
I'm gonna let this play for a second. I'm gonna turn off the face cam so that we can crush this bowl. Smoke them if you got them ahead of time. Cheers and all that kind of stuff.
Community organization. It was absolutely a necessity.
On December 7th, 1941, Himmler reinforced Hitler's directive, Nacht und Nebel, night and fog.
All right, give me one moment.
A policy that summarily bypassed the law by relying upon special German courts to sentence
if you're a fan of the
occupied territories to
feel free to join me.
Camps. Under the cover of darkness.
What do we call it? We gotta call it something. You know, when I go to crush a bull, we gotta call it like, I don't know.
In time of war,
goose time.
Was punishable by death.
Goose.
As chief judge of the People's
20.
Court, Roland Freisler, the hanging judge, frequently chose to enforce the death penalty for many of those who stood before him pleading for justice. Between 1943 and 1945, the People's Court sentenced approximately 7,000 people.
That definitely looks like bot language to me. Alice, not so pretty, was a brainwashed trans terrorist. Well, Alex wasn't trans. He was actually a staunch patriot, loved the country, just didn't like what was happening to the immigrants and the people who were supporting them. So yeah, I don't know. Seems weird to think that, and being trans wouldn't be basis for being killed in the first place. So I don't know what you think you're trying to say, but I'm happy to entertain it if you have an actual argument.
People to death. Maniacal in his tone and harsh in his judgments, Freisler oversaw two historical cases: the members of the White Rose and the conspirators of the July 20th, 1944 assassination plot against Hitler. At the University of Munich, members of the White Rose resistance produced 6 leaflets against the Third Reich. Hans and Sophie Scholl, along with their colleague Christoph Probst and their mentor Kurt Huber, were deeply committed to the high ideals of the White Rose movement. Condemned as conspirators against the government, they were sentenced to death for treason during wartime.
Oh, or like, I don't know, domestic terrorists?
Die gehört aber zur schwarzen Fraktion. Ja, das ist man nicht an. Das ist klare Fall.
You could call it combustible herbal happy hour. I mean, I guess, but I was thinking of something that's more like the goose theme, you know, like could be feeding myself some bread chunks, or I don't know, like that definitely didn't sound very appetizing, but you get what I'm saying. Something fun, something exciting, you know, fun and exciting.
Ja, ulkig. Wie wichtig
ich wohl das Amt des Zivilanwalts da gewesen sein muss, das Sie gehabt haben, dass Sie nicht mal Anwalt, nicht mal Soldat geworden sind mit dem Alter. Und dann von da sind Sie dienstverpflichtet worden. Spricht ja auch für Ihre Haltung, dass Sie sich haben, dass Sie erst gewartet haben, bis man Sie
Mary wanna feed the geese.
feines Früchtchen. Ja, feines Früchtchen.
Canada Goose time. Yeah. I mean, is weed popular in Canada? I mean, I guess it's popular pretty much everywhere, but is that a specifically Canadian thing? Goosey, yeah, that works. I could make like a little screen alert or something for it. Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much into the war at this point. So I mean, he doesn't really need to solidify his hold that much as of this point, but you know, I think it's an appropriate video to watch. And over the next few days, I think there are going to be a lot of creators who are going to do more deep dives than I could ever possibly invest my time into. And I think that's probably a good thing, because I think it needs to be talked about, you know? So in case you didn't know, you know, sensitive images are to follow. So just don't look if you're not specifically curious. Because I'm gonna play some sections of the videos. I hope not to catch the actual moment in the video, so you know, bear with me. But I might accidentally. That will be. I just want to make sure that I'm giving a disclaimer before we get there. So.
To the growing fallout from the deadly shooting of Park Ridge native Alex Pretti by a federal agent in Minneapolis. Family and colleagues describe him as a calm presence and a mentor who taught kindness and patience. But federal officials say Pretti interfered in a law enforcement operation.
But video does not back the administration's claims about this incident. The political pressure is mounting for President Trump and federal immigration officials to change course. ABC's Armando Garcia is in Minneapolis with the latest this morning.
A moment of silence at the Minnesota Timberwolves game last night in honor of 37-year-old VA nurse Alex Pretti, who was killed Saturday by Border Patrol agents. Thousands of others braving sub-zero temperatures to protest his shooting. This as state officials are asking a judge to extend a restraining order, banning federal authorities from altering evidence related to Pretti's shooting. And in another court, the state trying to convince a judge to halt the deployment of federal agents into Minnesota after 3 shootings in 3 weeks.
If we don't stop this behavior here, it will only expand.
What was the other shooting? Renee Good, this guy, and then what was the other one? I don't know that I heard about another one. It might have slipped under my radar.
And it won't be good for anyone in our country.
President Trump now saying he'll be sending his border czar Tom Homan to Minnesota tonight. The White House saying Homan will manage ICE operations on the ground. Border Patrol officials claim Pretti approached agents with a 9mm semi...
You see how they worded it? With a 9mm semi-automatic handgun? I mean, that's all just gobbledygook. He had a gun. 2 magazines. I mean, people carry clips on them. I don't know what person who carries wouldn't have ammunition, especially if you don't carry like any in the chamber or have it charged. Like, but that's all gobbledygook. Like, yeah, there's just they're saying that to make it sound as scary as possible. And when they say with, I think the first instinct for people is to imagine that he's got the gun in his hand when they say with a gun. And I think at the time, they probably didn't have enough resources available to know that there were several angles. Like, the chain of command probably wasn't informed all the way up to the top quick enough for them to have learned that there was so much video with so many angles. And so then they have to like scramble to try and pull it back. I don't know if there has been a statement recently.
Along with 2 magazines, and said agents tried to disarm him.
I think this was pretty recent.
But
this was like
he violently resisted.
2 hours ago.
Video evidence so far shows he never...
Oh! Weird. Does he appear to be brandishing a gun? Doesn't look like it.
Drew or even reached for his weapon.
Huh. His gun has been taken from him before they start shooting.
Administration official.
And that gun right there is being drawn to fire, while this guy has his gun.
We'll say the officer.
He ran. He had it, pulled it, and ran. So this guy knows. That's not the part you can argue. So this guy knows that he was unarmed.
Fired defensive shots.
And then several shots followed.
You cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest that you want.
Yes, you can. Perfectly protected by the Constitution. You can't just say that you can't do things just because you're the installed director of the FBI. This is how we got to fascism in Germany. You know, I hate to point out the parallels. I mean, we have been, I guess, this entire time, but I hate to point them out. All right? But I guess that is another argument, right? See, the other argument is you can't just take a gun and ammo to... Amu! We'll leave that. You can't just take a gun and ammo to any protest, his words, you want, which is the stupidest way you could have said that. But we're going to immediately strike that through because, yeah, you can, you weenie. Just so you guys know, a thing that I've enjoyed saying lately, because a lot of people, like, they keep going to these, you know, 2A arguments for, like, for shit that's on the ground, for shit that's in, like, Main Street USA, like, just against normal people, just that they don't like. And I keep saying, like, 2A is for tyrannical governments oppressing you, not fellow citizens. That's not, you don't, like, criticize protests by saying, this is what 2A is for, because you sound stupid. I hope none of you would have ever made that argument, because it's a very bad argument to make.
It's that simple.
Been seeing that in shorts a lot lately.
Was a lawful gun owner with a permit to carry, a right protected under the Second Amendment. There's been pushback against the ICE tactics from across the political spectrum.
What we're seeing on TV, it's causing deep concerns over federal tactics and accountability.
Kristi Noem has forfeited her right to lead, and I'm calling...
Now, you don't have to listen to any of the hyperbole. Like, that's all just sensationalist bullshit. Like, everyone wants to get their soundbite. Everyone wants to get their talking point across. But just take a listen to people when they're just talking about overall concepts. The biggest point that a lot of these leadership are trying to make is that it's going too far. And the pushback, again, if we're stripping all the sensationalism and we're trying to take people for what they mean, they tend to say that it's going exactly how far it's supposed to, or it's not going far enough. I think that it takes an extreme amount of bad actors to convince this many people that what they're saying is correct. And that's the concerning thing to me, because I don't know about other people on the left, but I think I'm just mentally exhausted at having to see the cavalier attitude that people have towards death. Always trying to justify it somehow. You know, like, especially when there's very little proof that any of those accusations are true. It hurts my heart. And I think maybe that's just kind of like something that happens when you get older and you feel a bit more sentimental and you feel a bit more sympathetic to other people. I'm roughly this guy's age. And, you know, I imagine that this could have happened to any of my friends, you know, and I would be a mess. but I'd also be proud of them for trying to stick up for their neighbors. Like, I think that it's no secret, it's gone out now, that his final words were very likely, "Are you okay?" And I know that it's a small thing. I know that it's like cringy to be like, that's so significant with like tearful eyes or whatever, but again, I think once you get older and you get more sentimental and you start remembering, either good times or better times, or when a loved one got hurt or died or something like that, and you try to rationalize what's going on. My camera's steadily going out of focus. And you try to rationalize what's going on and, explain it in your head as best you can. And what I think a lot of people feel is fear. Then, it's hard not to feel something. And I guess that's a chief thing about fear, right? Like, I think fear can turn you angry or it can turn you sad. And, I think a lot of people choose only one or the other. All right, let's get to the reason, or let's get the real question here. Are you a cuck? No, my wife doesn't like, the idea of in general cuckery. So I don't know. I'm open to things sensually, but no, just never had the opportunity. So it's been something that I have thus far not tried. Thanks for discussing kink here on the it's supposed to be the religious day, but I guess today's the politics day instead. Although I really like saying the name of the religious day, so let me say it anyway. On the day of which is Ask an Atheist Anything, but that's going to be tomorrow. So, today's a little different. Today's more about politics, and I think as much as I'd like to discuss my kinks with you, I think we're going to have to stick to the current events. All right.
On her to resign.
Rain check though. Hit me up in the DMs if you want.
Homeland Security.
Your look makes me think you're a cuck. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Or Donald Trump to do the right thing and just fire her.
And CBP.
I don't think he's firing people anymore. Or at least not in the way that he did on his television show. I don't think he's like leaning across from a table and going, "You're fired." It'd be cool. But I don't think he's doing that anymore, I think he has the people that he wants in the places he wants them.
To come to the aid of a woman
And there you
pushed
go.
to the ground by federal agents. An agent pepper sprays
So yeah, he's posing a real threat there.
agents with a handgun.
The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect
I'll go back to the
reacted
footage.
violently.
But at least 4 different videos of the encounter, analyzed by NBC News, appear to show Pretti with a phone in his hand in the moments before
Phone, hand,
his death, attempting to come to the aid of a...
Oh yeah, man. I appreciate it, Daniel. Lots of stuff make me happy, actually. Pizza. Pizza is like a pretty big one. Although, unfortunately, this week where I live, the food week, they have like occasional food weeks where it's like 1 week will be pizza week, another week will be wing week. And they're like spaced out throughout the year. But this week is a food week. Though, unfortunately, it's my wife's favorite food week. It's not mine. It's Wiener week. She loves a good wiener, it's we're going to go to 3 places each day. I don't know how we're going to fit that many wieners in us. But, again, like I said, she's not into cuckery, so I'm going to probably have to take all of them. Right down the gullet, I'm going to have to swallow at least 3 wieners today. Can you believe it? I bet you can. Oh, man. But I'm looking forward to it. Hot dogs aren't bad, but I prefer wings and pizza, and, like, there's a dumpling week. And I think that there's a taco week, but I don't think that's, like, official. God, I love this town. There need to be... where is Alex Vizio? That is actually a really good question. Robert Shannon, where do you think it is? Do you think that they've scrubbed it? Do you think that they've... Because I thought... I was under the impression that they just kind of left him dead in the street and then said that they couldn't investigate or something. And I didn't see any like cops there until like 1 o'clock in the morning. Like I was watching the stream the entire day, and I didn't see any cops there until like way later in the evening. And I imagine that like, I don't know. I imagine that perhaps they wanted that like to be chaotic and like so that they couldn't investigate properly or something. I don't know. I know that both the agencies sounded kind of shady when they were talking about it. I was watching all the press conferences and shit. Like the officials both sounded like they were trying to avoid responsibility for not having secured the scene and then blaming it all on protesters. Which if I was those agencies, I probably would have done that. And in a wider context, if they hadn't killed a man, I would be like, yeah, I get it. I get it. Well, yeah, what do you want to bet they were like saying to him, you know, during the whole beatdown and even leading up to the shots? Like, they were probably talking some mad shit too.
A woman pushed to the ground by federal agents. An agent pepper sprays him before Pretti is brought to the ground. Some of the video shows an agent appearing to reach into the skirmish and remove a gun that looked like Pretti's. Then
he removed the gun, and the guy, like, he's seeing this happen. He looks like he's looking directly at the agent removing the gun. And he's still pulling out his gun. Like, I just don't get. Like, I don't know who did the first shot. If it was the guy
Pretti is a US citizen
that was watching the guy, like if it was
death, attempting to come to the aid of a woman pushed to the ground by federal agents. An agent pepper sprays him before Pretti is brought to the ground. Some of the video shows an agent appear.
Like, I don't know if this guy is the one that shot the first shot.
To reach into the skirmish and remove a gun that looked like Pretti's. Then,
but you see, he starts removing his weapon as the guy's taking the gun. As the guy's taking the gun from him.
Pretti is shot. Pretti is a U.S. citizen with no criminal record and was licensed to carry a concealed weapon.
They had like 3 traffic violations.
Pretti's family saying in a statement, "The sickening lies told about our son by the administration are reprehensible and disgusting. Alex is clearly not holding a gun when attacked by Trump's murdering and cowardly ICE thugs." Overnight, President Trump telling the Wall Street Journal his administration is reviewing everything about the shooting.
I bet you he's going to walk it back. He's not going to admit he was wrong, but he's probably going to say that it was a tragedy and that it shouldn't have happened. But he's going to completely avoid any accountability.
Answer whether the agent who shot Pretti had done the right thing. Here in Minneapolis, Pretti remembered. Shown here is an ICU nurse reading a final salute.
We remember that freedom is not free.
And a memorial growing for Pretti on the street. What do you see when you watch those videos?
An execution, an absolute execution.
And this morning, a federal judge.
Even that first angle, you could you could not have seen something like that and avoided thinking that looks like an execution. And that one angle they got in the picture where they compared it to the Nazi killing the civilian, I guess, you know? Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Tommy Pierce, I agree with you. 100%. I think there's a lot of blame to go around here. A lot of frustration, and I think there's definitely some amount of justified anger. Definitely. Especially among the residents of Minneapolis. Like, they're not safe. Any random person, even like Republicans, MAGA, whatever, unless you don't have those, like, the hat on or some kind of Trump merch, you could get gunned down too. I mean, you know, assuming that you're the type of person that would jump into the fray and help one of your neighbors if they were getting attacked. Even if you didn't know what was happening, even if without that context, you know. My absurd and nonsensical what, doctor? My absurd and nonsensical what? You gotta use the right form of the word, man. Doctor who, what, where? In what way? How am I absurd and nonsensical? Because I'm saying that he shouldn't have died?
has issued an order that blocks
That seems
the Trump
kinda evil.
administration from altering or destroying any evidence relating to this shooting after local officials sued. In the meantime, in Washington, some Senate Democrats saying that they will vote to not fund the Department
YouTube moderated your comment? Well, then you must have said something pretty bad.
of Homeland Security, threatening a potential shutdown there as early as this Friday. And in an interview with
I
the
don't
Wall Street
know,
Journal, President Trump expressing a potential willingness to withdraw federal authorities here,
see if I can
Savannah,
see it.
saying that they have been here a while and have done a phenomenal job and will leave at some point, but not making a timeline clear as to when that will take place.
I mean, if the truth is something that's pro-Nazi, then you might just want to avoid sharing it.
Enforcement and intelligence correspondent Tom, we have all these different angles.
Oh yeah,
in
I don't
video
have
now,
I don't have any moderation
to watch
on.
those as we're going to do here together. You also want to keep in mind what Kristi Noem, the Department of Homeland Security Secretary, said Saturday 5:30 as we look at this video.
I mean, I think people have come in here and said all manner of nasty stuff. So, okay, explain this theory of yours. I'm happy to hear it. Yeah. Please do. Tell me everything that makes you think it's a psyop. I'm happy to hear it.
Video. An individual
In however you can word it, I guess.
U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempt.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a gun expert, but doesn't don't most 9mm function as semi-automatics? Are there any 9mm revolvers? Yeah, there have to be, right? Because revolvers came around before, like the Beretta, right? And then, like, I play so much Battlefield that I should probably know this. And I love watching those, like, forgotten weapons or historic weapons or whatever. I just cannot remember for the I'm a little stoned right now, so cut me some slack. I feel like Cornplum, please feel free to go into detail. I want to know everything. I want to know everything that you're talking about. I don't know. I even kind of forgot what I was talking about. That's how stoned I am. Let me pee, and I will be right back. I guess I'll let this play to the end. I don't know what it's going to play after. I'll turn autoplay off, I guess. Yeah. I'll let it play to the end just so you guys can see the rest of it. But I gotta pee.
To disarm this individual,
I'm going pee.
The armed suspect reacted violently.
Yes, the IDF snipes starving children, ruining for food in Palestine. Elaborate on that, because I don't understand. If you have a link, I'm happy to see it too. Also, you can send me a DM on any of my socials, and I'll take a look at it.
When the frame stops right there, it's
and I'm gonna go pee.
That's when one of the CBP officers is reaching in and grabbing the gun from him. We've got a second video that we want to show you of a little bit of the encounter leading up to it, a little bit to your point, Savannah. This is the slow motion now of when that 9mm Sig Sauer is pulled out from the back. Here's the second video. We can play it from here. This is a freeze frame of the moment where they come up to him. We'll get to that in just a second. You see Pretti right there, and now he's holding in his hand a phone. His left hand is clear, and so there's no weapon that's displayed at that point. And so the question is, how did this incident escalate to this point where it ended up in shots being fired? From an investigative standpoint, they'll focus on the intent. And this always comes down to this just purely from a legal standpoint. The person who fired the shots, the CBP officer who fired the shots, what was in their head? Did they believe that there was a credible threat to their life? But the gun had already been removed before we hear the shots fired on that tape.
Second deadly shooting by federal agents in less than a month there in Minneapolis. Tom, what happens next in this city? What do we know about that and where the investigation
I peed out of my parnas.
They want a de-escalation. They want to start to get people at the table. They want local law enforcement and federal law enforcement at...
Quailson, I feel like somebody else copy-pasted that into my chat before. I don't know when specifically, but that feels like something I've seen. I don't know if it's a troll or not, but I have not heard of that at this point.
The table. Things need to be de-escalated between them before they can be de-escalated on the streets, and it's against city ordinance.
See, the guy, he's looking down, he sees
in Minneapolis for the police to go out there and set up a perimeter and push protesters back.
Well, I think it would mean a lot to me if people, by and large, were more expressing the idea it didn't have to happen that way than the opposite. I think not everyone's going to agree on the circumstances, even in the face of looking at the video, watching it frame by frame. I don't think that everyone's going to agree. I think that the important thing to do is to say it didn't have to go down that way. And that way, the Republicans that agree with the Democrats in, you know, the Senate, the House, or whatever, can actually come together on a voting issue to maybe like reduce the extent of the violence or something. You know, like I don't necessarily care what the right side's opinion is on it, but I think that being cavalier about death is the problem here. Like, I think that they're getting what they want if we no longer care about the other side being killed. And it really only appeals to people on the right side because that's their base. I don't know. Yeah, but I think people on the left, there are plenty of people on the left who would cheer on political violence. Definitely not discounting that possibility. I gotta get more water because I have cottonmouth from, what did we call it? Silly goose time? Loosey goosey? Silly goose something? I don't know. It sounds childish, but I think that we can, you know, come to an understanding. Let's see. Yes, because everyone is mature and wants to actually listen. Most people are reasonable. I have faith that most people are reasonable. Left's done enough damage to this country. See, that's what I mean, you know? Like, how does that invite discussion? You're saying that people deserve to die. That sucks, man. Also, some ICE agents have criminal records and some can't pass a drug test, but you're stoned, so who gives a crap? Well, I still give a crap. Weed's actually my medicine, so. And I have heard about that. There's apparently some registered sex offenders that are being accepted into ICE up here in the Oregon area, which is super cool. Though, I will say that most criminals do deserve a second chance, but not PDF files. Come on, guys. You know, we as a society just gotta get over protecting them. Anywho, I'm gonna grab some water. Some water. Yep. I said it. Gotta stick by it now. Hiya. Oh man, I hope that none of y'all get diagnosed with ADHD later on in life, because oh boy, it is tough. The medication, it makes you, because if you have ADHD, I don't know if you know this, but medication makes you like both hyper and focused. Because, like, I don't know how to describe it. But it's an interesting effect, and this may be too much information, but it gives me hyperhidrosis, which means that I sweat more, but because I also smoke cannabis for medicine, I get cottonmouth, so I feel completely dehydrated all the time, and I also feel like I'm too fucking moist all the time. And I'm guessing it's because I'm just old, or I'm getting old. Ay. It's frustrating. Is this live? No, this isn't live.
Well, over the weekend, federal agents in Minneapolis shot and
Creme!
This is.
I really like the name of this news station. Creme! Hey guys, welcome to Cram 2 News. Today on Cram, we're going to talk about current events, and we're going to try and go over some of the news stories hosted by Cram! So enjoy, guys. This is insert anchor name here for Cram 2 News.
The second Minneapolis...
Look at that guy's... Look at his fucking fade! Yeah, it's a little cleanup. See, even I can see he needs... I'm not... In my eyesight is... not the best, but even I can see. He needs a little bit more of a razor cut there. It might be outgrown, but the rest of this is so clean, although, I don't know. Yeah, needs a little bit of that number 0 right there. Just a little bit of that, the cut in, you know? Clean it up a bit.
Resident they have killed this month.
The victim has been identified as 37-year-old ICU nurse Alex Pretti, who was a U.S. citizen. The Department of Homeland Security says agents were conducting a targeted operation against an undocumented immigrant wanted for violent assault. They say this is when another person, quote, approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. However, some are sharing video that contradicts what DHS says.
They keep coming out with studies that both verify and debunk that it destroys your lungs. On the one hand, it's not smart to smoke anything. It's better to just, if you have a medical need for something, it's best to just take it like a medication that would provide you the same benefits. But I do it because it's much cheaper, you know, than anything else. It is, I think, it's $30 for an ounce, with the place that I get it, so that's pretty good. That's pretty darn good, and it keeps me going for about a month, 2 months, something like that. I don't smoke a lot. Like, it's usually just when I'm on stream because I get anxiety, social anxiety. Helps me calm down, and because around lunchtime is where I take my second dose of my ADHD medication, which usually speeds me up a little more than I like to be sped up, and so that also helps. It's also a good antidepressant, which is weird. But that's like, I think that's for people with ADHD. I don't know. Yes, and it's a worldly attachment. As a Christian, I try to remove worldly attachments from my life. I mean, you'd be unique among Christians. It's not social anxiety, it's just you don't want to kill somebody and get in trouble. You talking about when I smoke weed? What? You think I want to kill somebody? I don't think I've ever wished death upon anybody. Other than perhaps my own self-harm period when I was in, you know, my teenage years. Ask a surgeon, man. I personally smoke, sadly. Are you talking about cigarette smoke? I do not smoke cigarettes. Not a fan. And the only reason that I smoke cannabis is because it's just way more affordable to me. I used to dab all the time. Vaping is also potentially more dangerous too, so I don't know. I think probably the only healthy way to consume it would be like to eat it, you know, if you have what's it called? If you have spiritual sniper, what is that? If you have like edibles, something like that, the way to metabolize it once it's been decarboxylated. I had a point in my life where I actually felt like it was giving me anxiety, but then quit after a while. Yeah, when I was a kid, I tried smoking cannabis a couple of times, like when I was in like 7th grade, 8th grade, whatever, just because my friends, you know, that's when kids get into it, right? I guess back in the day. Really, that's fucked up. I have. Okay. Yeah, they asked me to try a few times, you know, peer pressure, trying to be cool, and I felt like it gave me anxiety. And then in my 20s, I had a coworker who was like, you could call him a dealer. He grew it, but he just like gave it to his friends, and they just reimbursed him for it. But that is drug dealing. So he would have me hit the bong every now and again, And at that time, I just felt kind of tired at that point in my life. Because I would be up at 3 in the morning and I wouldn't go to bed till like 11 at night. Quit cigarettes roughly 10 years ago. Quit alcohol 6 years ago. Damn, good for you, man. Did you have to join a program or anything, or did you just stop, like, just quit it? It's the song, homie. I'm just trying to share some music with. Oh, yeah. This one. Do you want me to look it up? Because I will. I mean, off stream probably, but. And then if it's copyright free, I'll put it on stream. And there you go. Bada bing, bada boom. Well, damn, dude, good for you. That's not easy, especially if you've been drinking long enough to feel the withdrawals that you get when you quit drinking cold turkey. I had to do that twice. I just quit, like, because I wanted to improve my health, and it was tough. That, like, just the first like 6 hours of the day after you wake up is just full of nausea, and that's like, it's like that for like 14-15 days, and then you like kind of start to feel a little better, but you get the worst like stomach gurgles. I don't know about you, but like I got like stomach kept growling like all day long. Just remember that one guy that punches you the fudge out and you're still friends after. That's your real solid friend. Well, I don't know that I would want to be friends with someone who hits me, but I guess, yeah, if that's how you see friendship, then yeah. I know, yeah, Cornplum, I'm right fucking there with you. I was like, I'm 6'4", and I was like 350 some odd pounds. I'm still not at my target weight because I started drinking again, but it's rare these days. But yeah, you lose so much weight because that's all water weight. That's all like just those empty carbs, you know, just taking up space. And when people ask me like how I lost 100 pounds so quickly, I was like, to be honest, I started smoking weed and eating ice cream. Because that's how I satisfied my sweet tooth, is I ate, you know, like low fat or, you know, just healthy ice cream. But that was like my treat that I was giving myself. It was drumsticks. It was drumsticks for a while. I'd be like, I feel pretty good today. Did a lot of good stuff. And I'm gonna have myself a drumstick. It's just like the perfect amount, you know? Just, yeah.
This is an inflection point, America.
It was very satisfying.
We cannot all agree that the smearing of an American citizen and besmirching everything they stood for and asking us not to believe what we saw. I don't know what else to tell you.
Cell phone video captured the entire situation. Pretti was holding his cell phone before several officers tackled him.
Oh, damn. Good for you.
While
Fuck
his
yeah.
gun was holstered.
Less pain, you can feel it better.
Records show Pretti was a lawful gun owner with a permit to carry a handgun in Minnesota. The video then shows officers removing Pretti's gun from his holster before agents shoot and kill him.
So yeah, that's, you know, I just kind of feel like if I was just to sum up all of this, my feelings so far on, you know, all the stuff that's been happening, it feels scary, obviously. I don't want for anyone to have the potential to die in the middle of the street, whether you're, you know, on the left or the right. But, you know, like, I think in the overall game, I don't think that everyone or that anyone deserves to die. Like, I think you can argue all up and down, like, you know, that he shouldn't have been there, he shouldn't have had a gun, he should, whatever, you know. I can agree with anything that you say in order to, you know, justify the ridiculousness of why he died, but I still am not going to be so, I don't know, so scared, I guess, that I would say that it was right that it happened. I think that the thing that Republicans or the people on the right side of the aisle can do, if they truly care about democracy and about protecting the Constitution, is to agree that it didn't have to happen this way. and to maybe, you know, try to, I don't know, get in touch with their empathy or something. I would say that it's more important than ever to understand that humans have emotions for a reason. We all came together in civilizations for a reason. You know, like, I don't know. I think now is a pretty good time to remind ourselves of that. I get called a liberal for caring for brown-skinned people. I'm more conservative than a MAGA fool. Okay. Congratulations. I'm glad that you are someone of principles. And I think that's a good way to say that. Democracy is essentially oligarchy. Yeah, I mean, if we had a bit of a more parliamentary system that was run on a lottery, on a state-by-state basis, I think that would be a better government. But yeah, just it depends on how you think things should be run. I think that I have some pretty interesting ideas. If I was, you know, asked, what would you do? Like, how would you do things? You know, if you were given ultimate power and you were able to decide how the government was run. I think that's one of the foundational ones, is that I would make it so that each state had like a council, obviously odd numbers for a tiebreaker, and it would be taken from a lottery of people who volunteer. And I don't know, I think that still leaves room for corruption, but I think that eliminates a good amount of it. Like, you could potentially poison the lottery pool. I think separation of church and state is a major error. Well, don't know that I'd agree with that. I don't believe in God, so I would not like to be made to believe in God. Or at least I would not like to be made to, you know, live by some religion that I'm not a part of. And if the answer is either do that, die, or leave, I don't know. Doesn't sound very free, you know? I don't know. Lottery doesn't work. Don't know why you'd think that. RNG is the best use of chaos in order to enact things. You know, random chance is usually pretty good for splaying different ideological groups across a spectrum, one could say, etc. Oh yeah, is anyone else getting this error? Content is not available? It's weird. Been getting that a lot lately. Says the atheist? What do you mean? What did I say that discredits any of my disbelief? That lottery works? That RNG works? Is there a volume?
I just watched
Oh, yeah.
a registered nurse.
Watch closely, because this is who Alex Pretti was.
Chance works? What do you mean? Oh, you forgot what? I didn't forget anything. Makes sense to an atheist. I don't know what your point is. Are you saying that chance doesn't happen? I mean, we don't have to argue that things are ordained in the universe in order to believe that random things happen. Like Big Bang. What makes you think that was random? I'm not arguing any of that stuff. I'm saying that I don't want to be forced to believe in a religion, and that I believe that a state council should be picked through lottery. What if any of that has to do with the beginning of the universe? Very strange.
March 30th, 1947, December 10th, 2024. Today we remember that freedom is not free. We have to work at it, nurture it, protect it, and even sacrifice for it. May we never forget and always remember our brothers and sisters who have served.
Yes, I'm saying that chance makes sense to an atheist. I don't. Okay, what are you arguing though? That states can't be picked random, or that state council members can't be picked randomly, or that people should be made to believe in God? Because I don't know why either of those deserve an argument. It's kind of an opinion. Divine truth makes sense to Christians. I don't know why you're arguing that. This is about Alex Pretti. I guess if you want to talk about God, that's fine. Please feel free.
So that we may enjoy the gift of freedom. So in this moment, we remember and give thanks for their dedication and selfless service to our nation in the cause of our freedom. In this solemn hour, we render our honor and our gratitude.
That was Alex Pretti, working as an ICU nurse at the VA, reading someone's father's final salute. That's who Alex was. He worked as an ICU nurse at the VA. And as we watch the attempted character assassination of Alex Pretti rolled out by the Trump administration, by Stephen Miller, by anyone else that's trying to uphold...
Well, right, but I guess I don't know what you're trying to achieve here. I just happen to believe that if I was given the power to form whatever government I want, that it would be a state council sort of thing where people are chosen randomly, I guess. I don't know. And I wouldn't have a state-sanctioned religion. I wouldn't make people believe in God. I wouldn't do any of that shit. So I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. Agree, it's not necessary to respect one's beliefs, but it is necessary to respect that one has beliefs. Well, yeah, I mean, as long as you don't bleed into the whole, well, being trans is a belief argument, because that is what a lot of people will say in order to hide behind that. You know, things like that. Icky things.
The institution of ICE understand that...
All right, well, I didn't want to listen to his reaction.
He was peaceful and well within his rights to hold his camera and record what federal agents were doing. When he was attacked, he was pepper sprayed at point blank range, and then he was tackled by 5 or 6 federal agents. They then disarmed him of something that he was carrying legally with a license, and only then, after he was disarmed with 5 or 6 people on top of him, getting, I don't know, pistol whipped or hit with maybe a can of OC spray, it was only then, when he had his face towards the ground.
MOS? What does that mean, Minutor?
And multiple people on top of him, that he was executed. But he wasn't just executed. They kept firing after he was clear.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you see how you're initiating, or you're trying to like implement fascism by saying that church and state get to be incorporated. Like, you're saying that people who don't believe in the religion that you believe in must live by its laws. That's what you're saying. So I just don't agree with that. I don't think we should incorporate anyone's God into anything, because there are so many people who believe so many different things, and you should respect that if we're all to be living together and cooperating. Military occupation speciality. Oh, I get it. You're saying... Well, no, you don't respect my opinion by calling it wrong. That statement itself disrespects my opinion. That means that you have a superiority complex. That's what people designate, or are designated, right? In the army? Or any branch. So like I could be like a grenadier. Is that a thing? Is grenadier a thing? I know it's a thing in like Red Alert. They were pretty good. Gotta say, they were pretty good.
Clearly limp After he was clearly lifeless, they kept dumping rounds into his body as he was face
Yeah, I heard
down,
like 2 or
stone
3
cold
shots,
dead.
I think.
You've seen the videos. You've heard the videos. You heard...
Oh. Do you need to go outside? False alarm. She didn't have to go outside. She was just, stretching. Oh, my bones. My bones are old. My bones are old. They're dusty. They're dusty and old. Old Dusty Bones is what they call me. Add that on to the list of nicknames. Goose, Old Dusty Bones.
How long it was between the first
It's
shot,
just those.
which might have been an accidental discharge by the very person who disarmed that man, and the amount of time between the last shot.
Oh, I was asking you're a veteran. Oh, no. I really wish that I could have served. That would have been, like, living the dream for me. I was, from a very young age, fantasizing about joining the military. And, things got complicated. Grenadier's a thing. Cool. I would not have been a grenadier, but I was in the programs that you get into. So you do like Cub Scouts, then you do Eagle Scouts, and then they like recruit you into the ROTC, I think it is. And then you just kind of go on a path to going into the military. I just never did that. So, yeah, would have liked to have. Friends with plenty of veterans, but I can only live through their experiences vicariously.
If y'all also saw that footage of that man who was ganged up on by those ICE agents and then pew-pewed, don't let them gaslight you like they tried to do with Renee Good. We saw it, we saw it.
Mind you, Tor, I don't know how to interpret what you said. I'm assuming that's your MOS? Dear God, I really hope. Dear God. The God I don't believe in. I apologize, Christians. I take God's name in vain quite a lot. I guess it's a force of habit. But hey, you know, my mom is the one that came from, all right? I was brought up to say things like God damn it, because I think God damn it is just a funny sounding couple of words strung together. It has no godly significance to me. It's a fun curse. Even you Christians, I know, wish you could say it, because God damn it, it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. Okay, good. I'm glad. My father-in-law was in Phu Loy in Vietnam. He was a chopper gunner, and he was a member of the Big Red One. A member? Would you say a member? He was in the Big Red One. And I miss that, what was that show? Band of Brothers? Which I think it was the Airborne, or the 101st Airborne? I don't remember. It was a while ago. But that was a good show. It was a damn good show. But yeah, they met up with the Big Red One, and he got the Phu Loy tattoo on his forearm. Pretty cool. It was his first tattoo that he ever got. He said he always regretted not getting them when he was in the military, because he was drafted, and it was kind of a tense situation, if you will. You know, it's kind of one of those, I don't know if I like it.
We know what it is. If y'all also...
I'm feeling really unwell right now, to be honest with you.
Like, I think...
I would do the same.
That I understand... I mean, I'm doing it right now. Like, I understand why people need to have this opportunity to say what they feel. And I think that the majority of people are doing so in good faith. But, you know, if I can give any insight just to how my experience with people in general, be careful, you know, both about the, just moving forward, you know, just be careful with both the information that you accept as true, and also with the creators that are doing the same sort of stuff all the time, you know, like getting into the newest news story covering it for a little bit and then forgetting about it and moving on. Seeing a lot of anti-ICE sentiment today. I think people are waking up to the ridiculous authoritarian behavior. Yeah. Joe the Schmo, I mean, I always kind of described myself as being just to the right of throwing the Molotovs through Parliament walls type of revolutionary, though I am less activist than I used to be. Like, I don't know. I think it's always kind of been hinky. It's always kind of been a difficult, I don't know. It always seems to have been going downhill, or at least not always, like since like 2015 roughly.
And that's what's really touching me right now.
Since the
when it
alt-right
comes
kind of
to the
started
impact
popping up,
of
you know?
this moment, because I would have put myself between harm and the protesters who I saw were getting violated, right? I would have done the same thing. This is me at one of the, I think it was the No Kings protest. It was one of the protests, right? But I'm rarely actually in the organizing. But
there's been yet another. There's been yet
like this guy. If you get this guy, you know, if you ever see him, he likes to capitalize on a lot of this stuff, and he doesn't. I think he does so mostly for, I don't know, views, I guess. I don't want to say that he's entirely bad faith because I don't really know him personally, or I don't watch all of his podcasts because Jesus Christ. I don't even like really doing political stuff myself. I wish we lived in a world where people weren't in a position where they felt they had to speak out about something. That would be cool. You know, it'd be cool if we could just be like chill with each other. But that's surprisingly difficult these days for most people. And that's fine for now. I don't mind Dean Withers too much because he's on my political side, but I get what you're saying. He sensationalizes. Yeah, I mean, him and the other guy. Oh man, there's like two of them who are like sort of the same age and very same like style, and I don't know. It's very like riding the algorithm wave, and it doesn't seem to be much other than that. So. Yeah.
An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted... Parker get a job on YouTube. Yeah. Sensationalizing with a lot of this, like, covering of the mouth, you know, like, shocked, you know, performative stuff. Not a fan, even if I do agree with them. To disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. Fearing for his life...
By shielding his face and then being splayed out on the ground. That was him reacting violently. And I know that another of the arguments I see is he shouldn't have resisted. Only reliable, trustworthy community members will get to see. Turns out Trump is still a PDF file. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird how that happens. The world's still turning, and Trump is still yearning for children. I think that could be better. Could probably be better. He shouldn't have resisted. Well, to me, to my eye, just from my own experiences in life, having been to a protest, having been hit with pepper balls, having been Mongoloid, I'm not saying the other one. There's every, I think there's every fair chance, There's a very, very good chance that there are people on both sides of the aisle who are capable of being complete monsters. And it would be foolish to believe that they only exist on one side. But I think that the right side is more attractive to people like that because it is a bit more of an insular, we circle the wagons around people that we like sort of environment, and it allows for them to be sheltered by the people of that party. So I would say that the right probably has more numbers-wise, but the left probably has more in leadership positions. Not more, but as much in leadership positions as the right does. So, again, I think it would be foolish to assume that any one side is clean of any guilt. Yeah, they should just release the Epstein files and people should be prosecuted for whatever role they played. Period. So the argument to he shouldn't have resisted is, again, to my knowledge, to my experience, again, having been hit by pepper balls, having been maced, all that kind of stuff, especially like not wearing a mask, I understand how your body reacts to something like that, and you're not generally fighting. You're usually trying to double over in pain and either get whatever it is out of your eyes, or if you're getting hit in the face, to shield your head from whatever's happening, which is very clear in the video. He first tries to shield the person, but they're pulling him off of her while he's like dragging her. He's still trying to hold on, and they're dragging him off of her, and then they throw him, and so now they're hitting him in the head, and he's trying to hold, like he's like, you know, trying to hold his face while they're pounding him. And then, you know, I think that they see that he has a gun, and that's when they get scared. Or as they're hitting him with whatever they're saying is a pistol, I don't know for sure, but whenever they're hitting him with that, then it discharges or something. That's the reason why you're not supposed to be, you know, doing that. Pistol whipping people. Trump administration is hiding the Epstein files, is also the ones abducting children currently. Trump is best friends with the world's most notorious child sex trafficker. Yeah, I mean, you know, I think all that's established. I just think that, you know, people are either too cowardly or too in bed with it to do anything about it. But yeah, so this one, I would say strike through. Simply because he was maced. He was tackled to the ground by more than 3 people, which is much more than you would ever need. ICE agents, no less. Then disarmed. All while trying to protect his head, you know, while also being maced. Just saying. Kind of hard to say that he was resisting at all. All of the elites were pals with Epstein. Grimm, you're basically excusing Democrats' ped because they didn't hide the info like Trump. Nobody's excusing anybody. We all want people prosecuted for the parts they played in that whole, I think everyone who isn't voting third party is actually the problem. Okay. He wasn't playing WoW, right? I literally don't care. Okay. I don't really care either. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say to you.
Hi. Kyle Rittenhouse.
On Earth? Is that a thirst trap? Oh no, that's him. Oh, I was like, what the fuck?
Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse showed up to a protest with an AR-15, and they called him a hero.
That's a good point.
Alex Pretti.
But I think the video speaks for itself. What I can tell you is we have identified this person, 37-year-old white male, resident of the city. The only interaction that we are aware of with...
I mean, really, I don't know what you think we can do. I mean, do we have a viable third-party candidate? Do we have a viable third party? I don't think we do. I think people have divided things on a line with two sides for a while now, and I don't think they're inclined to give that up anytime soon, especially when there's so much money tied into it, you know? And especially when both sides want it that way. You know? I don't know. I mean, if you push all the do we have a viable independent candidate? I don't think anyone's stepped forward. No, because everyone is brainwashed to believe a third party is a waste. I would say Main Street America would probably give you the excuse that if you vote third party, you're throwing away your vote. But I think most people who are even slightly educated about politics just knows the risks involved with putting forth a candidate that can't win an election. You realize 5% of a general election creates a funded new party. Okay. I mean, but like, how often do those people make it to president? Right. But almost, I mean, it hasn't, Ross Perot was the last independent candidate, right? To be like seriously considered.
Been for traffic tickets.
Is my memory correct, or is it outdated?
Lawful gun owner with a permit to carry.
Just saw a video of more than 6.
They don't need to win first? I don't know what that means. You're gonna have to explain that. They just need to add competition. Oh, you mean to take away from the other side? This was the Republicans' strategy the whole time. Are you just stumping for the Republicans? Get Jeb Bush in there. Yeah. Sure. Jeb Bush. What a guy. What a fucking candidate.
Masked agents pummeling one of our constituents and shooting him to death. How many more residents, how many more Americans need to die or get badly hurt for this operation to end? How many more lives need to be lost before this administration realizes that a political and partisan narrative is not as important as American values? How many times must local and national leaders must plead with you, Donald Trump, to end this operation and recognize that this is not creating safety in our city?
But I think
yeah, you know, it's as we saw earlier in how the Nazis dismantled the democratic laws of Germany. It was a lot of bluster and hot air about how we were saving the nation, how we were making the nation better, like when it came to Hitler talking to Germany. It was a lot of make Germany great again sort of stuff. And it's just kind of like where we are right now. So it's fascism versus terrorism. What do you guys want? Like, what do you think anybody's going to do? Like, let's say that you see this in a movie, right? It transpires in a movie and we all of a sudden are able to make all of that happen. Like, how does it transpire to you? Like, how do you see it happening? Because I just, knowing what I do about the government and seeing it work in the last 40 years, it doesn't move quickly. It's very convoluted. Everyone uses legalese to get any which way around laws that they can, and then you have lobbyists who are encouraging lawmakers to make entirely different laws in general. So the way that the government goes, I think it's so strange to think that we can just up and change things without a revolution. It's not gonna happen. It's going to take a giant, immediate change in power in order to completely, like, alter the outcome of a system that's been essentially a rudderless ship for the last, I don't know, 30 years. I'm open to hearing it, but I don't think that I've seen a good blueprint for, you know, how someone thinks that an independent candidate's going to win. The left will lose a revolution. I don't think any revolution's going to win, whether it's the left or the right, depending on whatever the... I'm saying that I don't think the change that you're looking for is going to happen without a revolution. I didn't say anything about who would win one. So it's not a silly statement. I don't think that... It's like saying we need to end tipping. Like, I agree, but you can't just make that happen. Operation Warp Speed? What the fuck are you talking about? That was a global pandemic. We won the last Civil War. And how long ago was that? And how many, like, civic conflicts have there been since then? How many damn near genocides on our own soil? We need 5%. Okay, I mean, if you think that that it's something that's achievable, then go stump. Go whip up some votes in your community. Call your congressman. Get a coalition together. Start getting funded. Build a PAC. Put forth a candidate that's going to win. And do the thing. Do the democracy. Lol, the Republicans won the last Civil War. I mean, you're trying to talk about Dixiecrats like they didn't exist. So I wouldn't head down that road, because that's a bad one. You all right now? Good. If you want to vote for something, I mean, I'm happy to let you plug it here. I don't have a big community. I have 5 people watching, so you won't get much exposure, but feel free. If you've got a candidate you like.
I want to say a few words, not to the people here, but the ones that are not here. Not.
Like, I flip through all the political channels and say this. Look into it. We can save ourselves from both the left and the right. I'm all for it. I'm active in my city council. I'm active in my, or I go to town halls. I stand up and talk. Maybe I could record myself, I guess. That's it. That would be very anxious, or that would make me very anxious. I almost don't even care who they are as long as they're nothing like either. I mean, not caring is, I don't know, a bit nihilistic. But go off, Queen. If being political gets people to vote but completely turns people left and right crazy, why even bother? Choosing peace seems like the better option to these that aren't already politically conscious. I think that, I mean, that's my whole goal, was, eliciting some kind of discussion over empathy. And like I said before, I think it would be great if we could just get people, not we could, meaning like if we could, but I mean if we as society, if we the American people could try to be more like, this shouldn't have happened, then I think a lot more productive conversations might happen surrounding it, So this was just him at an ICE raid disputing it I work so I live under a rock. He was getting donuts. He came out of the donut shop. I think these two ladies were filming an ICE, incident. They were trying to arrest somebody or something like that. Because in Minneapolis, there's a lot of ICE agents right now, especially since, the killing of Renee Good. And their presence has caused a lot of confrontations. Like, you see them all the time on, like, TikTok and shit. And people will often stand between them and people they believe to be immigrants. And it usually results in confrontation, which is why, I assume either why they do it or why, because they want to try and spread the word. And so this guy comes out, he sees these women filming, they're now being harassed by the ICE agents. They push one of the women who falls over because it's icy or whatever. And then they push the other woman who, kind of stumbles off to the side. He goes to steady her. And then he goes, like, he's trying to record them the whole time. He, like, goes to steady her. And then he goes over to the woman on the ground and tries to pull her up. And as he's, like, trying to pull her up, they're, like, kind of, like, hitting him and shit. And he, like, goes down. He, like, trying to... I don't know if he's trying to shield her, but he ended up, like, becoming a human shield for her or whatever. And so he's, like, trying to stand up, but they're, like, pulling at him. And so they pull him back. And he kind of, like, pulls the woman with him a little bit. But they're able to separate them, and they get him prone on the ground. And at that point, he, like, throws his hand out. Like, you can... well, you can't see in that one. But he kind of throws his hand out. And they start, like, they're hitting him. Like, they're doing, like, one of those, like, stomp... what is it? Blood in, blood out rituals for, like, gangs in LA. Like, where you, like, get stomped out, by a bunch of people. It's like they're doing that kind of stuff. And then... it seems like someone either they shoot him after they find out he has a gun, and then someone takes the gun and they shoot him, or when they're hitting him with the pistol, it goes off, and then they start shouting gun, gun, gun as the guy's, like, grabbing the gun. I don't know. I'm hoping that there's, like, news channels with more better analysis and stuff. I saw one that had, like, an AI. Like, they highlighted the areas where, like, his hand was. They showed where his gun was, that it wasn't out of its holster, and they showed his hand, like, on the ground. I don't know. Hopefully with more modern technology we can... Because I think that was the problem with the Renee Good shooting, is that we didn't really get enough angles, and we didn't get enough footage. The shot... Yes, okay. Well, I knew that. I just didn't know if the... person who was pistol whipping accidentally or like discharged, or it was another agent that just did the execution style like we have seen in the images. Yeah, I would watch all four angles. I think there's 4 big angles that are floating around. I think it's very hard to see something like that and think that he was resisting or that he deserved to get gunned down. So I'm interested to see what you say. Come back and let me know. Next time we're on. I have to cut the stream here, but I will be here tomorrow, roundabouts 9 a.m. in the morning, Pacific Standard Time in the morning. And we'll be doing... Tomorrow's when we do... which is Ask an Atheist Anything. That's our religious day, and we just switched just because of the shooting over the weekend. Maybe, they might switch back and forth every now and again, just depends on what the current events are. Most of the stuff on the political day is going to be just really current events. I usually scroll through TikToks, react to stuff like that, and then if people talk in the chat, we just kind of, you've been here, you know what's going on. It's the same shit that has been happening for the last 15 minutes. But I bid thee adieu. Have a good day, guys. If you liked just hanging out, then please come and hang out again. And if you think that I'm super sexy and handsome, then consider subscribing. Because I know I'm handsy. I know that I'm handsy and sexum. And you can't prove otherwise. Very sexum. Thank you, Mongoloid. I appreciate it. Though I wish I didn't have to say your username.